Welcome along to the Singapore night race, where fittingly, as we've entered darkness in this part of the world 1 degree north of the equator, and 1,600 bulbs illuminate the circuit, one man in Formula One at the moment has stepped out of the shadows very much into the spotlight for the third race in a row. Charles Leclerc starts on pole position. There you are, 108 kilometres of cable making up this circuit of light, and what a beautiful sight it is as we head over the sail at the Marina Bay Sands of the 150-metre infinity pool. Singapore, democracy, peace, progress, justice and equality. And there's no equality out on the track. It's all about finding a winner today. 3.14 miles long, 3 DRS zones, 23 corners, 14 to the left and 9 to the right, and only 59% of your lap distance taken at full throttle. There is somewhere in the region of 160 metres down into turn 1. You've got to sort yourself out. Didn't happen in 2017. 2 Ferraris and a Red Bull careering into each other and taking out Fernando Alonso in the McLaren as well. That was in the wet, it's the dry tonight. Turn 7, overtaking chance. Hamilton tried it on Felipe Massa, collected a bit of damage before he got ahead of the Ferrari, who a year later was involved in this tussle with Bruno Senna, heading over the Anderson Bridge, nearly lost control, somehow managed to squeeze past the Brazilian in the Williams. 3 compounds of tyre. The C5, the soft tyre, is the softest tyre in the Pirelli compound range, at about 1.2 seconds faster per lap, but just how long will it last into this 61 lap race? The hard tyre could be a favoured race tyre by many. So here's the starting grid then. Charles Leclerc on pole position for the race this evening. A hat-trick of poles, and he's out-qualified Sebastian Vettel for the 8th race in a row. From big wheels to big lights, and the time approaching 7 minutes past 8 o'clock at night. They sit on the grid, Martin Brundle, in oppressively hot conditions. It's, what, 268,000 fans have made their way to the Marina Bay this weekend. The 20 fans that are cooling the drivers are very much needed. It's a horrible race for the drivers, but when they win it, it's a joyous feeling.
This is the one they train for. It's narrow, it's bumpy, it's dusty. The walls take no prisoners whatsoever. Just how a street circuit should be. 23 turns, as you pointed out earlier, and many of them quite similar. Block changes effectively, 90-degree left, 90-degree right, and a few high-speed sections. We know how powerful the Ferrari is, and if you can get out front and get track position, Mercedes will have to think on their feet for strategy. Do they pit earlier? Do they try to pit later? What are they going to do? And they'll also be so nervous of playing a great strategy for there to be a safety car or virtual safety car soon afterwards, and it costs them a dozen seconds. So because everybody, your rivals are out on track going much slower at that point, so you gain if you pit later during those safety cars.
So are you suggesting then, if Charles Leclerc is to make it a hat-trick of wins, this might be a little less straightforward than the first two? Not that Monza last time out was the most straightforward of races, because Mercedes really took the race to him. Could they do that this afternoon? And how will Charles Leclerc cope under the pressure? Because so far, he's coping amazingly well.
Extraordinarily so, especially in his home Grand Prix, with the Italian, all of Italy on his shoulders, fighting off both Mercedes. He's confident, he believes he can do it now. And I imagine the Mercedes are a little bit fed up being beaten by Ferrari. They're not used to it
No.
in this hybrid era. And
well, I don't think they've gone 3 races or 4 races now in a row without taking a pole position in this turbo hybrid era.
Absolutely, and that's because Leclerc has just been outstanding. He's found a way with the car. He's so smooth out on track. But he did push his luck in qualifying, kept it all together somehow, kept it out of the wall, and he deserves his place at the sharp end of the grid.
Tyre blankets are off then. Daniel Ricciardo on the medium compound tyre, as are the rest in front of him, except Pierre Gasly, who's gone onto the hard compound tyre. Top 9 all on the softs that they qualified on to get into Q2. Ricciardo, you think, should start on the soft tyre, because that's the tyre he used to get into Q3. Thinking about it, Martin, he got disqualified from qualifying, so everything that happened in that qualifying hour actually counts for nothing, which is why he gets a free choice of tyres.
Absolutely. So as expected then, those are the back end of the field, and this could play very much on the strategy even of the front runners. You don't want to come in for a pit stop and come out behind a midfield runner who's running very long on a set of medium tyres. So they'll be keeping a close eye on that at the front of the field to get the gap they need for what is a 27-second pit stop. It's a 60 km/h pit lane. It's a long pit in, long pit lane, slow pit exit as well for good measure. And that's why they're all desperate to just do one pit stop during this race if they can get away with it.
To get the chance, that's a perfect strategy to watch the Singapore Grand Prix from the infinity pool, some 245 metres in the sky. With a strategy on the track at Ferrari, Karun, you might have an idea.
Yeah, as Martin rightly said, it is so tricky for these guys to even think about a second stop just with that long 27-second time loss. So what do Ferrari do? They've got two dogs in the fight. If they can get to the first corner first with Charles Leclerc and hold off Lewis Hamilton, they could use Sebastian Vettel and sacrifice Sebastian Vettel's race, a bit like they did at Spa, to pit him early, force Hamilton and Mercedes into an early undercut to just benefit Leclerc later on, because the drivers are going to have to try and get to at least 15, 16 laps on this first set of soft tyres. They can't pit before the first 10 and then run the hard all the way to the end, guys. So it's going to be fascinating to see just when that first stop comes. And as Martin again rightly said, key is people like Giovinazzi and Gasly on the mediums and the hard tyres. If Leclerc's pace is too slow, they're going to be too close, so you can't pick too early, and otherwise you'll end up behind them.
So what I think they may well do is actually run quite slowly in the beginning to save their tyres, extend the window, and wait for what they feel is an inevitable safety car. And then there'll be a moment where they just bolt, where they have to really go for it to build the gap they need to make the pit stop. So we may sort of see a two-phase race, if you like, a two-speed race.
Which is perfectly correct. But when was the last time you saw a Ferrari in the lead take things conservatively? They try to get as far away as they possibly can. That doesn't seem to be the Ferrari strategy. So they're going to have to go against something that might not be the characteristics of the team and their car, which could be fascinating if they do, because the logical deduction would be they wear out their tyres just a little bit quicker. Lewis Hamilton's been on the radio, by the way, saying that he's spotted a little crest in the road right by his grid spot. He's been informed by his team that it's exactly the same on the other side as well, but it's those little things that just get into the back of your mind, Martin, as you're sat on the grid waiting for lights out.
Yes, because they can only really do practice starts at the end of the pit lane, which gets quite heavily rubbered in, so they've had one chance as they left their grid slot. Once again, they've sort of hung Leclerc out to dry a little bit, so he gets on the grid very early. Didn't seem to hurt him on the two previous occasions.
So the pack making their way around the final couple of corners, the two racing points starting one ahead of the other, and this time last year that team had their cars collide at turn 3 and rather ruined their afternoon. There's Daniel Ricciardo, whose race weekend he says has been ruined after being disqualified from qualifying for a technical infringement. He starts then behind the two Williams. George Russell out qualifying his teammate Robert Kubica, who is the only driver to do that in every race this season, and we're all set waiting for the 5 lights to all be illuminated here in Singapore. It's lights out and away we go. It wasn't a hold for very long at the start. Leclerc gets away well ahead of Hamilton and Vettel. And then on the inside, Alex Albon on Valtteri Bottas, making up a place at the start. Maybe it's Max Verstappen ahead of Bottas. Then comes Albon and then Carlos Sainz as well. Vettel is really going for it with Hamilton. Carlos Sainz almost gets a little bit squirrely coming out of turn 3. Hamilton fighting Sebastian Vettel.
Hamilton's going to be under pressure with the sheer speed of the Ferrari through the flat kink of turn 6 into the braking zone of turn 7. And he goes to the inside, he covers the apex of the corner. Critical for Hamilton.
The Ferrari speed is giving Lewis Hamilton a lot to think about. Vettel's coming back at him again. Hamilton defending for all his life on this opening lap. Then Verstappen ahead of Valtteri Bottas and Alex Albon as well. Look at that. Charles Leclerc flying out in front. You can't restrain him here in Singapore tonight.
Hamilton got great drive off turn 9 though, and that gave him a bit of breathing space back to Vettel. No DRS, no rear wing opening for 2 laps after the start.
Daniel Ricciardo's already got past Russell and Grosjean and Kubica as well.
Damaged front wing there on the Williams.
Yeah, you can see George Russell there taking it very, very slowly. Big damage on the Williams. He's right at the rear of the field as we head over the Esplanade and towards the final sector of this track. There's Antonio Giovinazzi in 9th place at the moment, but not for long. Kimi Raikkonen is under pressure from Pierre Gasly, and Kimi Raikkonen now down into 12.
Sadly, even further behind Russell is Carlos Sainz, who's clearly had contact. He's very aggressive on the opening laps, is Carlos Sainz. something's gone wrong.
I think George Russell got tagged by Daniel Ricciardo. That was that damage. And we saw Carlos Sainz getting all squirrely at the start, coming out of turn 3. Something may have happened a couple of corners later on. But by the end of the first lap, Charles Leclerc is 1 second clear of Lewis Hamilton, who's 9/10 up on Sebastian Vettel. There's a shorter gap then to Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas and Alex Albon. Then comes Lando Norris and Antonio Giovinazzi in 8th. Kevin Magnussen and Pierre Gasly. Nico Hülkenberg is pitting for Renault. And is there damage, I wonder, on Nico Hülkenberg's car already?
I think Hülkenberg and Sainz came together out there. So it's a pit stop and onto the hard tyres. That's a job to get those to the end of the Grand Prix with any kind of competitive pace. So now it's settled down. The normal 6 out front are putting quite a pace on. They're following Charles Leclerc at this point. And it's yo-yoing around, depending on exactly which sector they're in. But I think Verstappen's looking pretty racy there as well, behind Vettel.
He's certainly got closer to Sebastian Vettel. Right, here's the wing change at the Williams for George Russell. New front wing going on. The stewards are looking at Romain Grosjean at turn 1. We can see now on board with Daniel Ricciardo what happened on the short run towards turn 1. Russell actually got away fairly well, got past the Haas. Ricciardo's on the inside of him, and as Russell comes across, there's contact.
It didn't look too bad. It didn't really look like a wing cruncher from that angle, did it?
I wonder if he got sandwiched, and I wonder what happened on the outside now. Carlos Sainz, big problems at the rear of the car. They can't get the jack under.
Yeah.
Oh, this is disastrous for Carlos Sainz. It really is.
And remember, he's so fast around here as well, isn't he? But Ricciardo, of course, started plumb last on the grid after the technical infringement, and then putting fresh engine parts in too.
Carlos Sainz, whose career best finish is 4th here in Singapore in the wet in 2017, still in the pits, the clock still ticking, and he was involved in an incident with Nico Hülkenberg, who we've already seen come in to the pits. We haven't had a safety car on the first lap, but we have had plenty of incidents, and we did see Charles Leclerc racing off into the distance. We're now seeing Lewis Hamilton getting closer once again to Charles Leclerc.
Now they're on full tanks of fuel. They can put 110 kilograms in to do the race with. But the lap records are 1 minute 41. They're doing 1 minute 48 at the moment. Yes, with the fuel load, of course. But so I think this is a pace to eke the tyres a little bit further, as we were discussing.
Yeah, he's almost got Frankie Dettori on board, has Charles Leclerc here. The prancing horse needs the reins pulling back a little bit just to keep these tyres alive for that little bit longer and to restrain his natural ability to go as fast as he possibly can. Right, plenty of action down in the pits. Karun Chandok.
Yeah, just a quick line on Nico Hülkenberg, Crofty. It was a front left puncture, so there was contact with Carlos Sainz as suspected. I'm sure you'll get a replay fairly soon, but yeah, it was a front left puncture, which is really bad news for Nico, because he managed to carry on and keep his position in the top 10. He was up in 8th at the end of that opening lap when he came in the pits.
Thanks, Karun. So, Nico Hülkenberg, what happened to him? What happened to Carlos Sainz? Anthony Davidson's at Sky Race Control.
Yeah, there was contact, Crofty, in turn 5. Hülkenberg went for a gap that wasn't really there. I'm sure we'll see the replay in time, but yeah, unfortunately for Carlos Sainz, it wasn't really his fault. Hülkenberg just went for the closing gap.
So let's have a look at the race start once again then, Martin Brundle. Kevin Magnussen got away well, didn't he? He was looking for a gap as the midfield all bunched together into turn 1. But out in front, they weren't held for very long, and Leclerc reacted quickly.
Yeah, one of those short, lights out situations. Leclerc got the perfect straight line start down and took the corner as he wanted and bolted away. Now we can see behind there. So Sainz got a little bit out of shape in 2. That's turn 3. Somewhere in there, the Renault and the McLaren. There we go. We should see it this time. This time we've got Ricciardo from the back of the grid, of course.
Yeah, this will be the incident with George Russell in the Williams. You can see Russell there on his right-hand side. It's what happens on the other side of Russell that I think causes that. Yeah, look, Kubica coming past.
I think it was 2 Williams, wasn't it? Because I have to say, Ricciardo was being Mr. Cautious, Mr. Sensible in there, doing all the right things.
I think it was Kubica that squeezed his teammate
a
bit. Carlos Sainz now, he's got Nico Hülkenberg just ahead of him. Yeah, so there you go.
Puncture. Copy.
It looks more like suspended.
Hülkenberg crashed into me, I think.
So Sainz is taking a normal racing line. Hulkenberg's just arriving on the scene at the wrong time for him.
He was a long way to the right, so I don't think Sainz would have seen him in his mirrors had he even been looking at them. Yeah, so it was the two Williams making contact there.
Grosjean took the escape road. They might let him off because that's on the first corner on the first lap, but he should have come to the right-hand side of that bollard.
That's true.
They might let him off. They're often a little bit more lenient on the first lap.
Especially if there's another incident, if he felt he was avoiding an incident rather than making a gain there. But
talking of incidents, Martin,
I think Hulkenberg drove into a gap, I'm afraid, that was always going to disappear there.
Absolutely. Talking of incidents, Sergio Perez had to jam his brakes on into turn one quite drastically because his teammate Lance Stroll was coming around the right-hand side, and had he carried on Perez, that would have been two racing points taking each other out for the second year in a row here. Avoiding action there from the Mexican, who finds himself down in 15th, Stroll up to 13th, Ricciardo now up to 14th, Raikkonen's making his way back up, is now 11th, his teammate Giovinazzi going well in 8th, Lando Norris, the lead McLaren, 7th at the moment, and the top 6 as they were, but Hamilton now 1.7 seconds behind Leclerc.
There's something not normal.
We may have aerodynamic damage. I believe the suspension is okay.
Wow, that's some tough old suspension then, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just the tyre flapping around with a broken wheel. So I noticed Verstappen getting out of the slipstream of the Ferrari down the pit straight, because you can start overheating your brakes and damaging your front tyres. And Vettel's just keeping a respectful distance, shall we say, behind Hamilton to protect his tyres as well. So that's the phase of the Grand Prix. We're now in the 1 minute 49, so we're in conservation mode.
Yes, we are
right now.
And we're driving on a track that's like a 3.1 mile hot air tunnel around the streets of Singapore. It's been a windy old day here in this part of the world. What are we, 85 miles away from the equator? But it's still hot. It's still humid, and with the concrete lining either side of the buildings here, there's not much chance for the windy condition, or the wind I should say, to get onto this track to help cool the cars down. So you need to just drop back a little bit, otherwise brakes temperature goes through the roof, tyre temperature goes through the roof, and you'll sweat more than you would riding a bike in a sauna, quite frankly.
Engine, gearbox, hydraulics, all of the things. There's over 30 radiators on the car, believe it or not. So there's plenty to get into some nice, still cooler airstream. And Lando Norris then sort of leads the pack for the best of the rest in 7th, away from the top 3 teams, as he did in Spa, was then cruelly robbed on the last lap. So he's navigated the first corner well and found himself in some nice clear space.
Right, so Max Verstappen runs 4th, Alex Albon runs 6th. Let's head down to the Red Bull pit wall. Christian Horner is there waiting for us. First things first, Christian, you've survived the opening few laps. Your car's intact. Now you can concentrate on the rest of the race.
Yeah, at the start everybody held grip position, so that was the first bit achieved, and now it's like a lot of boxers dancing around a ring.
When are you going to throw a punch then?
Well, obviously Leclerc's managing that pace, and it takes 28 seconds for a pit stop here, so you can see he come out just behind Kubica at the moment. At some point they're going to give him the go, and he's going to get on with it, but you can see they're all cruising, saving tyres, because this red tyre is a bit more vulnerable from all the guys that are behind on either the medium or the hard.
Can you do anything to force that with, say, Alex Albon?
The problem is, if we pitted Alex now, he'd come out, behind Hulkenberg, so he's got all that traffic to go through. So, if we pulled the trigger early, you could find yourself in a world of pain. So it's going to be interesting to see when they give Leclerc the hurry up and what he's got at that point in time.
And what answer have you got with Max as a driver, or as your car and your chassis, to the Ferrari pace? Can they be got at down the straights, or are you waiting for that moment where their tyres start to go off and you see that they're struggling and you can then go and pounce?
I think this is going to be a race all about tyres. We saw Mercedes is the fastest car on the race runs on Friday. The Ferrari had a bit of deg, so that's what they're obviously probably a bit conscious about at the moment. And it's going to be fascinating to see how strategies pan out a bit later on in this race.
It's a game of chess, really, but it's sort of a bit annoying, Christian, that the 2 fastest men on the track are currently Hulkenberg 18th, George Russell 19th.
Yeah, but, hold on to your seats, because it will get exciting. This is, as I say, there's a bit of there's a bit of dancing around going on, and it'll warm up fairly shortly.
Yeah, they're going to have to stop jabbing eventually. Christian, thanks ever so much indeed. Now, from the heavyweight title fight that is the Grand Prix to the bantamweight at race control, Anthony Davidson.
Yeah, thanks for that, Crofty. Yeah, so Lewis has been on the radio saying this pace is really slow, especially in the middle sector, but I still can't follow the car very easily in front. So he's waiting, and I got a message from Leclerc's engineer saying this pace is really good. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and everyone else is saying, no, this pace is not really good. Go a bit faster, if you don't mind on that one. But, you know, pole man's got the prerogative, Martin, to control the race as he sees fit.
Yeah, it is all about, as Christian said, waiting for the first big punch. These are the sort of lap times that would get you fired normally. This sort of pace from an F1 car, but needs must.
Meanwhile, Daniel Ricciardo's trying to do something about overtaking. And this is Lance Stroll on the outside at turn 7, and that's Daniel Ricciardo with another position gain there. Nice move from Ricciardo. He made his mind up early that he was going to brake late, and he did so. So Daniel Ricciardo goes up to 13th place, and the stewards have decided Hülkenberg and Sainz, that was a racing incident.
Anyhow, and there it comes up on the screen.
Which is no surprise, really, but there's no comfort to Carlos Sainz either.
Yeah. You know, Nico would say, look, I was up alongside him. Carlos would say, I couldn't see him, I had no idea, I was just taking the normal racing line, looking ahead. And it's a 100-mile-an-hour corner up against the wall. It's not an easy one to navigate by yourself, but Giovinazzi doing well up in 8th as well. Magnussen, so keep an eye on. This will probably play into Haas's hands, actually, won't it? If
Absolutely.
There's a bit of a tyre-saving phase of the Grand Prix.
Well, Magnussen got an excellent start. He found gaps on the grid that he could move himself into. Giovinazzi comes into this race off the back of a career best finish, 9th, of course, in Italy 2 weeks ago. That move on Daniel Ricciardo pulled on Lance Stroll, by the way. I'm told he did exactly the same thing to Sergio Perez a couple of laps early. So he'd done the rehearsal and then he went for it again. To be fair, we've seen a lot of those sort of moves from Ricciardo over the years anyway.
Dan Deere on the brakes. Yeah, he's like, brake now, 2, 3, and then hits the brakes, doesn't it? And it works. It's beginning to work again. But once again then, fastest man on the track, George Russell for Williams in P19.
Yeah, with a 1:48.9 on that last lap, but he's got quite a gap between himself and Nico Hülkenberg after Hülkenberg came in for a tyre change because of a puncture, and Russell came in for a brand new front wing because of contact with Daniel Ricciardo on the opening corner. Right, Karoom, down to you.
Yeah, Crosby, just looking at the times, the top 13 up to Ricciardo, in fact, in 13th on that last lap, within half a second.
Around to go. Let's go, boys. Let's go.
Let's get a boy.
Okay, Daniel clearly in a racy mood, but yeah, the top 13 all lapping within half a second, which we never see in another race. Now, if we got a safety car and the leaders came into pit, all of a sudden, the likes of Giovinazzi, Magnussen and Gasly would be in the lead of the race, even with that reduced time. All up to sort of Kvyat would get ahead of Leclerc and Hamilton. So the leaders have to really hope that they don't get an early safety car at this stage in the next 7 or 8 laps. They need this first stint to go.
Check what happened in the first corner. Front number, yeah, copy that. We're having a look.
So Raikkonen thinks he might have some damage. Yeah, the leaders really need to hope that there isn't an incident and a safety car for the next 8 to 9 laps. Otherwise, they're going to get stuck behind the likes of the Alpha and the Haas cars.
So what the team are going to look at there, when they say we'll have a look, is the data from the car, the pushrod loads, the suspension and aerodynamic loads to see if anything is damaged. They've got copious amounts of data, so they'll know if something's not performing correctly.
So we're on board with Lewis Hamilton. The car in front of him is Charles Leclerc, who has led the race for every single lap so far, and in doing so has helped Ferrari pass 15,000 laps led in the history of Ferrari in Formula One. Red cars have often been in front, hasn't it? I'm not quite sure how many laps that is in the history of Formula One, but 15,000 is a decent number.
So Lewis lifted the throttle 120 metres before the corner at the end of the Esplanade Bridge, which incidentally was built out of magnetic steel. And that's why the cars, they cover the sensors in special material so that the bridges don't affect the sensors on the car. So remember, we thought it was the underground in the early days. That was something I read in the Mercedes pre-race report, actually, that a number of key sensors have a special shrouding on them because of the magnetic material in the bridges overhead.
Construction news from Martin Brundle.
So, we do everything here.
Absolutely. Is Valtteri Bottas getting much closer to Max Verstappen, I wonder?
Can't really go much lower. Copy loose, she's still in the pit window.
Yeah. If Hamilton can't go much slower, then give it a go. Go a little bit faster, see what happens on that one, but he'll only last a couple of laps if he does so. That's the problem.
Cruise up and have a run at him then.
Yeah,
but it's not, they've got to play the patient game. What causes this? First of all, it's the safety car situation, but because it's a 40 miles per hour, 60 kilometers per hour long pit lane, 27, 28 seconds for a pit stop. It's if they speeded the pit lane up a little bit and maybe shorter, it's quite a quick run in, but generally that's what's forcing this issue.
Yeah.
Is a pit stop is too costly.
And they could widen the pit lane if they wanted to.
And then, of course, track position thereafter.
Right, on board with Daniel Ricciardo, who's now caught up to the back of Danny Kvyat. He's not thinking about going slow at the moment. He's got the bit between his teeth, and he wants to go for it at places you don't normally see cars getting past. Now, we've seen Felipe Massa on the bridge get past Bruno Senna before. Can Daniel Ricciardo do the same on Kvyat? No, he can't. Waiting in the back there to try and pick up some scraps is Lance Stroll. They nearly had to pick up scraps of carbon fibre. He somehow avoided going into the back of the Renault, who's going to go down the inside of Danny Kvyat at turn 14. Nicely done. Stroll gets a good exit as well out of that turn. And Kvyat's lost 2 places in 1 corner.
Yeah, Ricciardo doesn't care who pays for the tyres. He's using his up. He's having full value out of those medium compound tyres, isn't he?
Oh, that is absolutely brilliant. We nearly had Stroll going into the back of Ricciardo. In the end, both got past. And now Sergio Perez fancies a bit of Toro Rosso action as well.
I wish we had a smile cam in Ricciardo's crash helmet, because you can just picture it, can't you? Yeah. Every time he makes a move like that.
What they call a grinometer down under, I think, on that one. Let's have a look from almost Daniel Ricciardo's perspective. He knew there was a gap there, and he went for it. Superb control on what is a really difficult braking zone, because it's quite sharp downhill at that stage.
Yeah, Kvyat sort of tried to defend. He was a bit of a day late and a dollar short on that one, and it opened the door, and through went his former Red Bull teammates.
Yeah, meanwhile, out in front, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, about a second between, or 1.5 seconds at the moment, because Sebastian Vettel is hanging back a bit to try and preserve his tyres. That's allowing Bottas.
So front left caliper, the one we are worried about, try to pull down that front left and move the car that way.
So that's allowed Bottas to get that much closer, I think, to Max Verstappen. Now, he's feeling the hot air, or his brakes are feeling the hot air, which is probably going to mean he's got to drop back a bit as well, which must be hugely frustrating for him.
Yeah, they've got some tools, obviously, on the steering wheel. Brake bias, we see them moving a lot. It goes, I think, normally 56, 57% of braking energy goes to the front axle, because you get weight transfer forward and loads the front tyres up. You feel that, especially on a motorbike.
Here goes Perez on Danny Kvyat. Last lap, he lost 2 places at this corner. He might just lose a place here if Perez can get some decent traction out of turn 14. The corner's going to come up soon under braking. Perez dives down the inside.
Hold.
Nice. Perez is ahead of Danny Kvyat up into 14th place. Brilliant midfield scrap. I just wish this was happening for the top 6 at the moment.
So obviously when you hit the brake pedal, you're pressing all 4 brakes, but you've also got the electrical system harvesting at the back, just the back axle, or on the engine actually, to compound or to complicate that. So cooling one brake caliper is not the easiest task, I'd imagine. Staying out of the turbulent air and hot air of the car in front, putting some bias rearwards on the brakes, and letting it come back into range.
So the pit window is open for business then. Who wants to come in? Lap 12. It would be a very early stop if somebody did. This is the Sergio Perez, Danny Kvyat incident.
Oh,
and he hit the wall as well.
Yeah, for good measure, but this is great driving from Perez. Teed him up a tree, squeezed him to the apex for a tight line. And this is unbelievably tight, this left-hander, straight into the heart of a chicane. Nice job.
Put a lot of trust in Danny Kvyat that the Toro Rosso wouldn't be hanging around into that chicane as he made his way through as well, Sergio Perez. I mean, not that Kvyat was looking for a crash there, but if he hadn't got it completely right, the Mexican, there might have been contact.
This pace is good, mate. People at the front on soft are starting to struggle.
So Grosjean ahead of Hulkenberg, down in 16th at the moment. But Hulkenberg, of course, has made his pit stop. He's on the hard compound tyre. And when those do come in, those soft compound runners, he'll start to move up the field and might just find himself back in a points position again. Worth keeping an eye on Hulkenberg. I don't think he's completely out of the equation of running in the points in the middle stages of this race. Can he hang on at the end? We'll see.
Tell you what, the front runners better hope they've got some grip and some pace when they need it, when they stop dancing around the ring, as Christian calls it. Because right now, if they pitted, Leclerc would come out in 17th place behind Hulkenberg, which would be awful.
Yes.
Or a safety car, as Karim was pointing out earlier on. So the gap to the back of the field was actually shortened a little bit in the last few laps. So if they've got then Kvyat pits, he was really struggling, wasn't he, for pace? So Kvyat pits, and then we'll see what kind of pace he's got. Ricciardo up to P12 now from the back of the grid, making some good moves and making some ground in the first lap shunts for good measure. And he's on fire, isn't he, Daniel Ricciardo?
Well, he is, and I think that is helping that midfield battle stay closer to the leaders than the leaders would like. Danny Kvyat comes in for a change of tyres. Not surprising, really. He's losing places and he's struggling out of some of the corners as Hulkenberg has a little look at Romain Grosjean into turn 7. Can't quite get past him on this occasion.
That's a car he thought he might be in next year, isn't it? He's not staying at Renault. They've replaced him with Esteban Ocon. He thought he might have a chance of replacing Grosjean at Haas. Didn't happen. So might be a bit of glory. It might be personal, this one.
Well, yeah, just to show Haas what they're missing for next season. As far as my sources tell me, Nico Hulkenberg, his financial demands might have been a little more than Haas could afford. Romain Grosjean might just be helping them to bring fresh sponsors to the team for next season as well. And hopefully a few decent points finishes. What he has done this weekend actually is to help them go back to their Australia spec once again, as they struggle to understand why their cars seemingly go backwards faster than forwards during the course of the race, and they've just not got to grips with why their tyre life is so short during the course of races.
So Leclerc, is he just backing everybody up so that they can't play the games? They can't use two Mercedes against one again? Is he just making that, the slower he goes, the less options the people immediately behind him have.
So Kvyat's come in just on the last lap. Perez is now coming in for his pit stop, and this is a response to the Toro Rosso. The undercut is very, very significant here, and that's what Toro Rosso are trying to do. I'm looking to see Danny Kvyat. He's just come around the final corner now as Perez makes his way down the pit lane at 60 kilometers an hour. Has Perez managed to get ahead of Danny Kvyat, or stay ahead of Danny Kvyat?
And we're getting reports from some of the soft runners that they are feeling a drop.
So, but are you, Lewis Hamilton, are you, Valtteri Bottas, feeling that drop as well? Perez did stay ahead of Danny Kvyat, 17th and 18th, the Mexican and the Russian. Right, so Charles Leclerc. Hamilton's closer on this lap. He's within DRS range as well. He's only 8/10 back. Sebastian Vettel about the same gap. And then Verstappen about the same, second back. Bottas within DRS range. Alex Albon about a second and a half off the pace. And Norris is in contention with this leading sextet as well.
Yes, indeed. So Leclerc then is getting, I would imagine, a bit of a hurry up quite soon. Hamilton's starting to put pressure on. We know how quick the Ferrari is in the few straight lines there are around here. Vettel and Verstappen watching on as well. If they're going to go, they've got to go very soon, I think. Especially now that behind them they've started pitting as well, coming out on fresh tyres.
Well, there's a 27-second gap, isn't there, from Leclerc all the way down to Romain Grosjean, Nico Hulkenberg, 14th and 15th. This is not a straightforward race for those sat on the pit wall, Karun Chandok, trying to engineer a strategy that can win you a race.
No, absolutely not, Crofty. And just to show you how much these guys in front are managing it, on Kvyat's outlap, he gains 2.6 seconds on Leclerc and Hamilton in just the second 2 sectors. I mean, that's a huge amount in just 2/3 of the lap. And I think as we get now towards lap 17, 18, that's when we're getting towards the window where these guys are going to bolt and try and make that gap.
So you say that, Karun, there's a message just been given to Charles Leclerc that says back to mode race. Make of that what you will, but he's just been given that message as we're on board with Nico Hülkenberg, who's quite keen to get past Romain Grosjean, shall we say, in the Haas at the moment. This is the scrap for 14th place, but remember, Hülkenberg has pitted, Grosjean hasn't. Grosjean, something of a blockage for the Renault that Hülkenberg could well do without.
It's a game of deer at the front, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's a 1:49.3 on the last lap for Charles Leclerc. Keep that figure in the back of your mind, and we'll see what the next lap time is going to be for the race leader.
He certainly hasn't done mode race through the middle sector unless he hasn't got any grip. So 8 seconds covers the top 7.
That, after 15 laps, is a very, very close gap indeed. 1:48.7 for Charles Leclerc. So he has upped the pace just a little bit. How much racier can he get now? How much do Ferrari need to feed him into a gap? Do they want to see the likes of Bottas, Albon, Norris, Giovinazzi, Magnussen start to pit before then? Kimi Raikkonen has pitted now for the Alfa Romeo team. So he's struggling for grip enough to want to come in and make that first pit stop.
Comes back to what I was saying earlier on, Crofty, that Ferrari going so slow up front has stopped anybody behind them having any options. They'll just be straight back into traffic.
Yeah.
They've just got it's taken away all of their options. They're completely controlling everybody's race at the moment.
It's a good way to ward off the undercut. That is certainly for sure. I did see someone make a comment on social media saying, I wonder what lap Mercedes will make their first fake pit stop in this race, but we've not seen any sign of the Mercedes team flying out into the pit lane just yet. Anthony, down to you at race control.
So here we go, guys. Charles Leclerc's just been given the message to push. He was asked to build a gap. He asked if he could push, and they've said, yes, push.
And it's a 1.5 second gap between himself and Lewis Hamilton. 3/10 in the first sector, 2/10 in the middle sector on this lap. Robert Kubica now has Kimi Raikkonen right behind him, and then Sergio Perez right behind Raikkonen. The latter two, Perez has stopped, and Raikkonen has stopped as well for a change of tyres. Hence Kubica, in what's probably going to be his last Singapore Grand Prix, finds himself ahead of the two at the moment. And that is the problem right there and then, that you can pit here too early and run into traffic.
Absolutely. Let's not forget Pierre Gasly running in P10, the first runner on the hard tyres. He can go a very, very long way. Could end up leading this race at one point.
Absolutely. A 1:48.3 from Charles Leclerc, pushing on and now 2 seconds clear. And whilst we see Kubica really frustrate Raikkonen, Raikkonen goes for it down the inside, but he still can't get past the Williams. Remember last year, Perez was trying to get past Sirotkin in the Williams. They actually managed to collide on this section of track. So frustrated was Perez getting, and Kubica, by driving a stout defensive drive here, really upsetting Raikkonen and Perez.
It's definitely starting to drop up a little bit.
And Hamilton is feeling the tyre drop off too. Karun, down to you.
There's a gap opening up, guys, between Stroll and Grosjean at about 10 seconds. So that window could start to open up. Grosjean 29 seconds off the lead. So I think that's why they told Leclerc to push, and I think Hamilton's going to go soon. So expect those stops coming up for them to feed into that gap.
Fiat has now joined in on the back of this scrap, as well as Kimi Raikkonen dances down the inside of Robert Kubica, and the oldest and second oldest driver in the field swap places, and he's got a bit of DRS for good measure to make his way past the Williams, and now Perez is stuck behind Kubica with Fiat right on his tail. We saw that's 2 laps. Raikkonen's been behind the Williams. That's cost him a heap of time.
Yeah, it was quite smart of Kubica because he saw Raikkonen coming, gave him the space, but kept the track position. Didn't do him a lot of good a few corners later, but avoided the accident. Sort of the wisdom, the experience showing through there with both drivers.
So that gap out in front was over 2 seconds. Hamilton's bringing it back down now to 1.5 seconds, under 1.5 seconds on second and third part of this track, with the Mercedes, you feel, has got a bit of strength ahead of the Ferrari.
So Hamilton's gone with Leclerc. Vettel hasn't. Verstappen's tucked up behind Vettel. They haven't gone with them, nor has Bottas and Albon for that matter. So Leclerc is just beginning to edge forward, taking Hamilton with him, possibly turning it into a two-horse race.
Oh, down the inside once again, Sergio Perez. But unlike the incident with Danny Kvyat, Perez can't get past the man in front on this occasion. Is he going to go for it at turn 18? He is. Well, I think Kubica gave him enough room to make sure he could get past without damage to both cars there. And now Kvyat on the inside forces Kubica to back off before there's any contact. And he defended a little bit harder against the Toro Rosso than he did then against the Racing Point. But that, once again, experience and self-preservation from the pole.
Kubica under siege. That was for 16th, 17th and 18th positions.
Yeah, but you never know what it might be for later on in this race. We haven't had a safety car yet. Incredibly, we've had 17 or so laps of the Singapore Grand Prix. And Bert Mailander, who's led, I think, 73 laps of this race over the years, still hasn't been called into action.
So Lewis already 3/10 up on this lap as the well that's currently unfolding. And still Hülkenberg cannot find a way past Grosjean.
Yeah, the grinometer in Ricciardo's car is the scowlometer in Hülkenberg's car at the moment, because he's been tucked up behind the rear wing of that Haas for some time. Now, with DRS, is this straight going to be long enough for Hülkenberg to mount a challenge? And look, he's gaining, but he's just that bit too far back to mount a challenge into turn 4. The gap out in front between Leclerc and Hamilton is now a second. Leclerc is not pulling away from Hamilton in the way that Ferrari would like. So, and I just wonder, Martin, from Hamilton down to Grosjean, is there enough chance for Hamilton to pull the undercut now on Charles Leclerc if Mercedes want to gamble on strategy?
It's getting that way. Leclerc struggled on that lap, so pushing as we finally see. Do we? Hülkenberg getting past Grosjean, getting into Grosjean.
He's hanging on in there. Oh, that got perilously close, doesn't it? I think Grosjean stays ahead. He does.
Interestingly, Leclerc struggled a bit on that previous lap. Wondered if he was just that hotter laps, burning his tyres a little bit. But he's gained on the first sector again on this lap with Hamilton. They're just stretching a bit of a lead. So it seems as if as soon as they push...
Very low grip, mate. Very low grip. Are you sure brake bias is working? It doesn't really do a lot.
Red Bull are super fast at pit stops. They've been sub 2 seconds. I think if they want to pit Verstappen now, he could come out ahead of Grosjean. Just, it would be very, very tight, but it's possible.
And Verstappen then having to get defensive quite late into the braking zone. And as I said, Leclerc's just taken away their options here. Normally, they'd have loved to have pitted, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Slotted into a gap, undercut, and put the leaders under pressure. But, you know, how much time are you going to lose? I mean, fresh tyres, they ought to be able to zip past the midfield, but you're still going to lose time.
They're getting ready down at Red Bull, looking at tyres, as in comes Charles Leclerc. And in comes Max Verstappen. Hamilton stays out on the track. Oh, so Sebastian Vettel, not Leclerc. Yeah. Sebastian Vettel coming in.
Vettel pits. Verstappen nearly bounced back onto the racetrack. He got in so hot into that tight left-hander into the pit lane. And away, that was a quick stop from Ferrari, wasn't it?
Well, 3 seconds. He was stationary. Verstappen, 2.3 seconds. So they gained 7/10 on Sebastian Vettel in that particular pit stop, and it's the hard compound tyre that has gone onto the Red Bull, and it's the hard compound tyre onto the Ferrari as well. Here comes Nico Hülkenberg, inside line, of course, for the pit lane exit. Vettel is ahead of Hülkenberg, but Verstappen is not, and that's bad news for Red Bull.
Yeah, heart sink at Red Bull on that one.
That could be a gamble that Red Bull are taking that has not paid off. So the front two stay out, and there's 7/10 of a second between Leclerc and Hamilton.
Yeah, Verstappen got very, very hot into the pit lane. Wonder if it cost him a little bit of time. Anthony, what can you tell us?
Lewis has been told, let's get nice and tight. It's all going to kick off very soon. And asked about the balance of his car, Lewis says, very good.
I get the feeling that Mercedes, whatever Ferrari do here, are going to come in for a pit stop. And I wonder if Ferrari are feeling that way as well and might just try and cover off the undercut.
Well, Vettel's in some nice...
Let's undercut him.
Vettel's in some nice clear air. So he's actually going to... They'll have to cover Vettel off with Leclerc, otherwise he's got to pit this lap, Leclerc. Vettel's got space, he's got to pit.
He's been told over the team radio, Martin, mode box. And Lewis has asking for the undercut, as you just heard. So I think they're both coming in. They're not both coming in. Lewis Hamilton told over the team radio, opposite to Leclerc. So Mercedes are deciding they're going to stay out for at least one lap extra to see if that actually gets them ahead of Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, it'll be very close between Leclerc and Vettel. He had about a 2.5 second advantage.
Well, Sebastian Vettel was stationary for 3 seconds, Leclerc 2.4 seconds. That 6/10 might just be what he needs.
Okay, so box opposite to Leclerc, box opposite Leclerc.
Yeah, there's that radio message, box opposite to Leclerc. Has Hamilton got enough life in those tyres to really hit hammer time
so close.
and get out ahead of Vettel?
These two.
Well, Vettel's going to get ahead of Leclerc here, and he is.
I thought he would. I don't think Vettel's pit stop was that slow. So he's undercut him. It's cost track position for Leclerc, but not for Ferrari. And Leclerc really struggling to find grip on those hard compound tyres.
Well, Leclerc's going to be fuming at that then. They boxed Sebastian Vettel first, but the thing is, Martin, I think they were looking at Hulkenberg and Grosjean and saying, right, well, we can maybe go for it with Sebastian Vettel. We can't take the risk with Charles Leclerc. Now, here's the next question. Sebastian Vettel out in front. Is his lap time going to be good enough to stay ahead, not just of his teammate, but of Lewis Hamilton, when Hamilton now boxes? And can Vettel go from third to first in the pit stops? There's a 45% chance of an overtake. Sebastian Vettel on Lewis Hamilton. We're getting our insights powered by AWS. That is live data predicting whether Hamilton is going to get overtaken by Sebastian Vettel here. And it's now a better than a 50-50 chance.
Well, Hamilton's defenceless here against Bottas as well, surely, in terms of the pace and maybe even Verstappen.
Hamilton stayed out. So they decide... He says his tyres feel good, but they decided at Mercedes, and as we can see now, it's even more a better chance for Sebastian Vettel, but they decided they're going to have to stay out and hope something else influences this.
So Lewis has done a 47 flat. That's a pretty good time. That's a very good time, in fact.
We need to push as much as you can. Yeah, but what the hell? I mean...
Martin, Lewis might have done a 47.0. Vettel's just done a 45.4.
Yeah.
In which case, that is Lewis Hamilton way behind Sebastian Vettel.
And don't forget Bottas as well. He's pitted. No, he hasn't pitted, has he? Sorry, Bottas hasn't pitted. Verstappen, I meant to say. He's in the 45s as well. So unless they think they're going to leave Bottas out there to back the pack up and help Hamilton when he pit stops, unless they're going to play a team game at Mercedes-Benz.
2012, Sebastian Vettel, last time he qualified third here in Singapore. He went on to win the race. He could be net leading this race at the moment from third on the grid. Karoon, down to you.
Yeah, Crofty, do we think Mercedes are just counting on a safety car here? Because, as Martin said, they're going to end up behind Verstappen now. There's no way Lewis is going to stay in front of Verstappen. And Bottas obviously...
2 seconds, Karoon.
Okay. Okay, copy Lewis. It is very close.
I'm not sure what it's close to.
No, I agree.
It's a bit confusing, because the only thing that could help him now is a safety car, in which case he'll come out, I don't know, 7 seconds ahead of Vettel, but otherwise there's no chance he's going to beat Verstappen even.
This is a puzzle, but I'm sure on the Mercedes pit wall at the moment, it's a puzzle that they've covered off and that they're prepared for. Often Mercedes get their strategy right, it does have to be said, but as each lap goes on, there is less and less chance of Lewis Hamilton to be ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc when he's pitted. Bottas now pits.
Hamilton stays out. It was a 47.3.
And as he starts his way down the pit lane, the two Ferraris are through the final 2 corners here, as is Max Verstappen as well in the Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel ahead of Bottas, Leclerc ahead of Bottas, Verstappen ahead of Bottas. They were all ahead of Valtteri Bottas at the start of this pit stop scenario, but Bottas now under pressure from Nico Hulkenberg.
If I need to press all of them, I can. Just so you know. Copy, understood.
And Hulkenberg just behind Bottas as he makes his way out of the pits.
Leclerc less than impressed that his teammates been allowed to undercut him.
So we're on board now with car number 23. That's Alex Albon, and he is ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. Albon makes his way up into 10th place. He needed that, to be honest. Albon, through all the concentrating on Ferrari and Mercedes and Verstappen, Albon has made his pit stop. I know this looks bleak for Mercedes at the moment, Martin, but I'm just going to offer one little crumb of comfort, maybe for Mercedes fans who are watching, and that is that Stroll, Ricciardo, Gasly and Giovinazzi are not that far ahead of Vettel and Leclerc. They're going to catch up with traffic. And it's traffic that are not going to get blue flagged here, because some of them are racing for position. Are Mercedes counting on others to hold up the front two?
They might well be, and I think they're going to have to get pretty feisty, the two Ferraris, when they get there, along with Verstappen. Hamilton's got half a lap in front of him, with nobody other than Kubica in it.
So Hamilton's got track position, and by the way, Lewis Hamilton leading this race. It's the 142nd time he's led a Grand Prix. That ties the all-time record held by Michael Schumacher. Schumacher and Hamilton have led the most Grand Prix of any driver now in the history of the Formula One World Championship.
And now it's
race situation.
So race situation, Lewis is still out. He will drop behind Verstappen, in between Verstappen and yourself.
Sounds like he's coming in soon then. So now it's Leclerc's car that will start getting hot, start burning up his brakes, burning up his tyres. And Verstappen's sitting there pretty, isn't he? He's sitting there in a really comfortable place, this Max.
Absolutely. The man that's lost out so far, Charles Leclerc. The man that's benefited so far, Sebastian Vettel. The man that could benefit, Lewis Hamilton, if Mercedes have got their strategy right. And the man that is there or thereabouts, as you say, Max Verstappen as well. But the top three, net top three, I should say, because Hamilton leads from Giovinazzi, Gasly, Ricciardo and Stroll.
Just keep talking to us about the tyres.
They're not great, but I don't want you to stop me.
Don't stop me now, says Lewis Hamilton. The net top three... Sorry?
Here comes the traffic you were talking about.
Absolutely.
This is critical.
The net top three are now going to start to see their lap times compromised by those that are, well, second, third, fourth and fifth, who haven't stopped in this race yet. And don't forget how much trouble we've seen in terms of Kimi Raikkonen trying to get past Robert Kubica a few moments ago, with Sergio Perez involved in that as well. It's so tricky to overtake here.
48.8 for Lewis. That's not a great lap time for him. I know it's obviously because his tyres have had it, but that's not what he needs at the moment. Even Giovinazzi, on mediums behind him, is going faster, who's currently running in second place, hasn't pitted.
Let's keep this up. Vettel is coming up against some midfield cars that have yet to stop. They're on the medium tyre.
Valtteri Bottas is the fastest man on the track at the moment as well in clean air. It's clear that they've spotted this midfield on that Mercedes pit wall.
That's the play. That's high risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've left themselves exposed to the ability of Vettel, Leclerc and Verstappen to pass. Obviously they don't get blue flags because it's for track position. Yeah. It's not for lapping.
But he who dares, Martin.
Yeah. So this is key. If this trio gets itself blocked, and let's not forget Bottas, he's in the 1:45s as well now. So he's within a couple of seconds of being net ahead of Lewis after his stop as well. So it's all now about traffic.
I'm assuming Bottas's tyres weren't in as good a condition as Lewis, which is why they brought him in that much earlier in the race.
Yeah, there were some nice fresher tyres at the end, but if this trio pass the midfield runners very quickly, then Lewis could find himself in 5th place.
392 days since Sebastian Vettel last won a Grand Prix, 22 races. But when the top 5 pit...
Valtteri, it's James. Can you do 48.8, please? We gave you the first stop.
Advance says this isn't to go long, I guess, or...
So that's to put him behind.
Hey, Valtteri, I just need to make sure we can get these tyres far and work as a team. I'll compare it back to you.
That's to keep him behind Lewis.
Yeah, and act as a buffer.
Yeah, that's slow down and to keep behind him. We're working as a team here. Wow. Anthony, what can you tell us, Ant?
Well, talking about tyres, guys, Leclerc's on the radio crying that his tyres are going off following all these cars.
Which they would be, because he's now had to drop back behind his teammates, so about 1.5 seconds behind Sebastian Vettel. he was controlling this pace and doing exactly what his team was saying, and by doing so, he's now found himself on the wrong end of the pit stop strategy.
I know this is not great time, but this is all the sides have.
As Lance Stroll sees Sebastian Vettel in his wing mirrors. Sebastian Vettel pulling out to make an overtake, but the Ferrari was too far behind. Now this is a Ferrari being severely compromised for pace, and what Mercedes are hoping happens here is that the two Ferraris lose about 5 seconds trying to get past what are midfield runners running right at the sharp end of the race.
This is the crux of the race. Ferrari are going to have to take some risk. The Ferrari drivers and Max Verstappen are going to have to take a risk here to get past these back markers.
They're standing by at Mercedes to pit Lewis Hamilton. Antonio Giovinazzi runs second in this race. Last time an Alfa led a Formula One Grand Prix was Spa, 1983. Andrea De Cesaris, and Vettel still can't get past Lance Stroll.
I thought he'd be through at the end of that back straight, so now he's got to follow him through the chicanes.
Right, Lewis Hamilton is coming in to the pits. There's about 28 seconds between himself and Valtteri Bottas, so that's why they were asking Bottas to hang back. Should be 27 seconds average time for a pit stop here. They want Hamilton ahead of Bottas when he comes out of the pits, playing the team game. Lewis Hamilton stops. Giovinazzi now leads the Singapore Grand Prix. You can see the Ferraris in the distance and Max Verstappen coming around the final corner. 2.4 seconds in the stationary zone. It's not even close. He's miles behind, but is he ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas? I think he should come out just ahead of Bottas, but the gamble might not have paid off there as Alex Albon goes wide, trying to put pressure on Valtteri Bottas.
Well, he was right behind Bottas because Bottas has been told to back up so he doesn't get any teammates way. So, okay. Round two.
Round two, it didn't pay off. Did Hamilton need 2 or 3 more laps for the Ferraris to get stuck behind the midfield?
Hamilton's tyre is 6 laps younger, but of course he'll be in the a bit of opposite lock there, oversteer, the curb, kicked the back of the car around, and he followed the correct procedure so as not to get a penalty. Now we reset, except that effectively Hamilton is now net 4th in the race.
So it's not a big gap for Hamilton to close down, but it's how much longer can Giovinazzi, Gasly and Ricciardo keep Sebastian Vettel at bay, because he's now got past Lance Stroll. As you can see, Leclerc isn't past Stroll, but Vettel is. And it's taken him a couple of laps to do it.
So did I hear Leclerc on the phone going, let me through, or
what do you think we should do? So we just need to close up onto the back of him nice and slowly. We need to look after these tyres. The race will all happen at the end. So Verstappen with 47.8.
So let's just refresh here, Martin. When did Ferrari pit for their change of tyres?
20. 19 for Vettel, 20 for Leclerc, Hamilton 26, Bottas 22.
So 7 or 8 laps fresher tyres.
Yeah.
At the end of a race where tyre wear is going to be critical, is that going to be enough for Mercedes to mount that challenge? When did Verstappen pit in this race?
Unless the tyres just...
lap 19 as well.
So he followed him in, didn't he? Unless the tyres literally fall apart on the two Ferraris and Max Verstappen, you'd always rather have track position around here. That's key.
Absolutely.
So that's what they've got at the moment. But they've got to get past Lance Stroll.
And Lance Stroll is keeping Charles Leclerc at bay. You can see Sebastian Vettel flying off to join Daniel Ricciardo, his former teammate.
The problem Leclerc has got here is, he can get punchy against Stroll and just open the door wide for Verstappen right behind him.
Which is, I'm sure, what Red Bull are hoping as well. Don't count out Max Verstappen in this race, but he's going to be suffering the same tyre problems you would imagine as the two Ferraris at the end of this race. I know Mercedes have taken a gamble here that they thought might pay off, but had they have pitted at the same time with Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, surely the worst that would have happened is they'd have come out just behind the Ferrari and they wouldn't be having to close up the gap they are now.
Well, they've taken two gambles, haven't they? One is the traffic, that their rivals will get held up more than they have. But actually, they found a reasonable gap in the early phase of after just pitting. And also, that their tyres will fall away terribly at the end of the race.
While this is all going on, by the way, I just want to say it again. Antonio Giovinazzi leads a Grand Prix, which is brilliant. AWS telling us that the striking distance is in 6 laps for Lewis Hamilton on Max Verstappen. Giovinazzi, by the way, the first man from outside a Mercedes, Ferrari or a Red Bull car to lead a Grand Prix since Williams. The British Grand Prix 2015. 4 years ago was the last time we had someone from outside the top 3 teams lead a Grand Prix. This is what we want to see. Is down the inside goes Sebastian Vettel on Daniel Ricciardo.
And Leclerc too, I think. Leclerc too, yes.
On Stroll.
Yes, he's through. So Vettel's getting himself a handsome little lead here, getting through the traffic, isn't he? Really well through the traffic. Remember I mentioned Pierre Gasly on his hard tyres at one point?
You did.
He's currently P2, catching Giovinazzi in P1. Going along very nicely indeed.
Safety car now for Pierre Gasly would, or in about 20 laps time, would be an absolute boost, wouldn't it? Let's have a look. On Raffles Boulevard, Charles Leclerc didn't see much room down there, but he put his car in the right place. And a decent move that he had to make. This is all turning out really nicely for Sebastian Vettel this evening. The way this strategy has worked out, he did the undercut on his teammate, and he's the net leader of this race because he's pitted and the top 3 haven't.
I'd rather be in a Ferrari passing a Racing Point Mercedes than a Red Bull Honda.
Yeah.
I think they'll have the speed. The Ferraris had the speed to get past Stroll. I think Verstappen's going to have to get pretty punchy on the brake pedal somewhere.
Try to take more care of the rears on 13, 1-3, and exit on 3.
The hard compound tyres should do about 50 laps, according to Pirelli. You treat them carefully enough. And there you can see Max Verstappen trying to find some cleaner air and some cooler air to race into, just pulling out to the left of Lance Stroll.
So many, you can see the marbles on the pit straight, and the discarded rubber as well. Tyre wear is high.
So Hamilton's gap now to Max Verstappen is under 3 seconds. Sebastian Vettel goes down the inside of Pierre Gasly. This could be contact. Gasly is forced off the track there as Sebastian Vettel was coming through, whether the Frenchman wanted it or not. And Vettel has put himself now up in the 2nd place. He wasn't going to hang around there, and there is Max Verstappen ahead of Lance Stroll. So Verstappen moves up into 6th place. Oh, and that could have been very, very bad for both drivers there. Gasly getting out of the way just in time before there was major contact.
Tyre to tyre, so they get away with it. He might get a warning flag for that. It came from a long way back, but he made the apex. The car was under control, and actually that turned out quite easy, didn't it, for Verstappen to get through there down into turn 7.
This is Antonio Giovinazzi, something he has never seen before in Formula 1. Nobody ahead of him and leading a Grand Prix at the same time. Christian Horner is listening on the Red Bull pit wall whilst we watched on board with Antonio Giovinazzi. Christian, talk us through the strategy of this race then. It's for some very confusing, and we're trying to pick our way through it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, obviously, when they hit the go button on about lap 15, obviously the tyres for Ferrari weren't in as good a shape as they were hoping for. So they pitted. Obviously, the new tyres are quicker. Mercedes have decided to leave Lewis out, and he's given up quite a few places, but he'll have a better tyre for that last section of the race. It's going to be fascinating to see how this all pans out.
So what would you rather have, Christian, track position or the fresher tyre?
You've got to have about over a 2-second advantage here to overtake. It's pretty tough. So it depends how big the drop-off on these tyres are at the end of the race, how much that sort of 7 or 8 laps gives Lewis versus the cars ahead of him at the end of the race.
Christian, we've seen Antonio Giovinazzi passed by Sebastian Vettel, who now leads the race. That looked like a fairly easy overtake, that one. Antonio didn't put up too much of a fight, the Italian against the Ferrari.
Well, that's a surprise. But, I mean, what would be fascinating is to see, they gave Sebastian the preferable strategy. Will they switch it?
Max looks very comfortable sitting out there at the moment, I must say, Christian.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. I mean, because they're not back markers, they've got to race through these cars, so that's why they're not being particularly helpful. And I think, you know, Max is looking pretty sensible out there at the moment. I have to say, Alex doing the same as well, hanging on to the Mercedes nicely.
Absolutely. I might be a bit cheeky here as Max Verstappen goes down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo knew that Verstappen wasn't his fight. Will Pierre Gasly put up a strong fight when Max Verstappen comes up behind him? Is that what you're expecting?
Actually, not like he did with Sebastian. So I think he knows some quicker cars are coming through now.
You know, he might have a contract for next season if he plays ball as well. You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
No investigation necessary, Vettel on Gasly. Robust, I think you would call that.
Absolutely. Christian, thanks ever so much. Great to have you with us this weekend as Lance Stroll finally pits on lap 32 for Racing Point. Sebastian Vettel was quite relieved there was no investigation necessary. Don't forget, he goes into this race on 9 penalty points. You get 12, you get a race ban. I'm not suggesting he should have had 3 penalty points for that. But the steward's watching him, I'm sure.
It was a high risk.
Are all drivers.
It was a high-risk move. Might be a race-winning move, actually.
Correct.
Every back marker he can put between him and Leclerc.
There goes Leclerc on Gasly, DRS assisted. And he makes the corner before the Toro Rosso driver, who hasn't pitted yet and is now running outside of the podium places in 4th place.
You have to assume Gasly will give Verstappen no problem whatsoever and just let him go. It's not his fight anyway, but sister teams.
I asked Christian about, you know, would he challenge Verstappen, just in the interest of balance on that one. And that's, you know, we can open up a whole debate about customer cars, and, you know, one team helping out other teams, but you want to see every driver having the opportunity for robust defence and some stout defence, don't you? End of this straight, might just see Charles Leclerc ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi.
So Vettel's clear of the pack now, and as soon as...
there goes Verstappen, sorry Martin, on the inside of Pierre Gasly.
And as soon as Leclerc passes Giovinazzi, the two Ferraris are then, they're back in the normal race situation.
Yeah. And then they can start to control their pace just a little bit as well, which is what they were doing before the first round of pit stops for the opening 19 laps of this race. Don't forget, no constructor has ever finished 1-2 here at Marina Bay. Ferrari, on paper at least, might have a very good chance of becoming the first to do so.
Well, we saw Mercedes playing the team game. Will Leclerc be on the phone saying, hey, you pitted him first for strategy, let me back through?
And they're almost going off the track a bit there was Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen right on the tail of Antonio Giovinazzi. The important thing for Verstappen here is that he clears Giovinazzi quickly. He's not going to do it into turn 5, but he'll get DRS, of course, along that straight. Gets a really good exit as well out of turn 5. He's picking up a few marbles on the off the racing line as he tries to get past Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi giving it everything he can there, but he is eventually passed as Lewis Hamilton passes Daniel Ricciardo as well. So Hamilton moves up into 5th, Verstappen up into 3rd, and the question, Martin, Ferrari on 1 and 2, if they do want to switch it, the problem they're going to have is that Verstappen is going to be very close to them, and that might be quite difficult to do.
Should they switch it? Do they want to switch it? We'll find out. Lewis now against Giovinazzi, falling back down the pack as expected as the leaders come back through on the fresh tyres. Well, it's certainly made it fascinating, hasn't it? And we're just over half distance.
I think we need to box.
Keep going, Antonio, keep going.
Yeah, they're still hanging out for a safety car as down the inside on Daniel Ricciardo goes Valtteri Bottas, and Lewis Hamilton makes his way past Antonio Giovinazzi as well. So Hamilton now behind Verstappen. Vettel leads from Charles Leclerc. Bottas is up in a 6th place.
Albon just took Ricciardo as well in there.
He did. Changing rather rapidly as we head to the middle stages of this race, which we think is a one-stop race. Don't forget the possibility that we might get pit stops later on in the race as well, and that undercut, Martin, so powerful it was to get Sebastian Vettel ahead of his teammate, might just come back to fruition again to give Leclerc the opportunity to get past Vettel.
You have to assume if there's a safety car of any sort, they'll all grab the chance.
Oh, Bottas has gone wide and deep, trying to get past Antonio Giovinazzi, and right behind him, Alex Albon now thinks Bottas isn't looking too clever. I might be able to stick with this Mercedes a little bit longer as well. He's got to get past, of course, the Alfa Romeo first, and we're riding on board now with Alex Albon. Very nicely done through turn 5, and he's passed the Alfa Romeo that has been using the medium tyre for the entirety of this race, and he's trying to defend against Daniel Ricciardo, and they contact at turn 7, and Giovinazzi comes off worst. And you hope that there's no damage on either. Giovinazzi now has another Renault right behind him, and Lando Norris, who we haven't mentioned for quite a while, is running in 10th place.
It'd be impressive if Ricciardo hasn't got right rear puncture or damage. He has. He has.
So Ricciardo, in making the move, it got a little bit too close for Giovinazzi, and he's now dropping back down the field as well, which is a huge shame for a man who's put up some brilliant overtakes so far this afternoon.
Wasn't his finest. That was a bit clumsy, that one.
Cyril Abitbol watches on from the Renault pit wall. Let's just have a little look here from Ricciardo's perspective. But he just sees a gap and he goes through it. That's what Ricciardo does.
Okay, I have a puncture or something.
High speed 14, please. Yes, you have a puncture.
Well, there was space there, but not at the speed Ricciardo was arriving at.
Yeah, it was an opportunist to overtake. And Giovinazzi has got nowhere to go. Daniel gets him oversteers, he picks up the throttle and kind of punches him off the road.
And that is going to ruin Daniel Ricciardo's race. Charles Leclerc sets a new fastest lap of the race, and he's now 5 seconds behind his teammate. Giovinazzi finally pits. Pits from about 5th place as well. Will obviously drop down the field, but able to go on to the soft tyres maybe for the end of this race. They've not for the first time this season. Giovinazzi's done a really good job defending away. He did in Australia to keep quite a few cars behind him in the middle stages of that race. Just looking for Sainz coming round the final bend now. He's a lap down. So Giovinazzi will come out as Ricciardo limps home. He'll come out in about 15th place behind Pierre Gasly. That's wretched luck there for Daniel Ricciardo. It's the hard tyre going on to that Renault. Interesting. Anthony, down to you at race control.
Yeah, guys, I've just been talking about to Hamilton the fact that whether Ferrari on a 1 or 2 stop, and Hamilton's convinced that Ferrari on a 2-stopper here. And Bono's suggesting that they're trying to build a safety car gap, which Hamilton is trying to minimise.
Safety car gap would be about 17 seconds, Martin.
And Leclerc is really punching out some sectors now. He wants to close that gap down to Vettel. He feels he's been robbed through team strategy.
Got a yellow flag, got a double-waved yellow in Sector 2. As we talk about the potential for a safety car, we have a Williams in the wall, and I think that could be George Russell. It is George Russell. So, Ferrari trying to build a safety car gap. They have not done that. They're not far enough ahead. And what's happened? Grosjean and Williams. Grosjean and Russell tangling. Oh, Russell gets tagged by Grosjean and sent into the wall.
It has to be, for me, at least a virtual safety car or full safety car. Lots of debris on the track. They have to clean that up. We need a safety car.
I think we are going to get a safety car, but race control haven't said anything yet. Romain Grosjean down in 16th place for Haas was tangling with that Williams and just caught the rear left and sent Russell spinning into the wall.
So do you pit if you anticipate a safety car or not? If you're coming round to the end of the lap, are you going to anticipate? I can't see how they can get the car out without one.
Okay.
You doing?
Yeah, copy.
I shouldn't be surprised. Sorry, guys.
George Russell not happy with Romain Grosjean at all. That's Michael Massey, the race director. Surely they're not going to leave that car there. For the rest of the race, they're not. Safety car is deployed. Sebastian Vettel just making his way out of turn 17 in front of that Marina Bay grandstand with Charles Leclerc right behind him. I would imagine Lewis Hamilton will stay out if the Ferraris pit. And if they pit and lose 16 seconds, then Hamilton could be ahead of the 2 Ferraris. If Verstappen stays out, he'll be ahead of the 2 Ferraris. If Leclerc stays out, he'll be ahead of his teammate. Is Sebastian Vettel going to come in? We don't know yet, as we see a replay now. Once again, down at turn 8, Grosjean going around the outside. Russell was still ahead. The two Ferraris are staying out under this safety car. So Russell's ahead. Grosjean's got nowhere to go except into the back of the Williams, or he could have put his brakes on a bit more. And for the
it's at this point you give up on that corner. I think he just got more traction off the corner. He got more acceleration.
That not only dents the Williams, but their 100% record in terms of finishing this season. The only team who had a 100% finishing record, that's gone now. Karun, down to you.
Yeah, I've been looking down at the pit boxes and no mechanics came running out from either Ferrari or Mercedes. Sure enough, both teams have driven past. Nico Hülkenberg, meanwhile, has come into the pit, so he's the first of the cars I have seen come past me. So this ultimately is going to help Ferrari, guys, isn't it? Because they pitted earlier, but this opportunity to cool the tyres down and just have a little bit of a breather for those tyres will help them get to the end of the Grand Prix, despite pitting those few laps ahead of Hamilton.
Well, yes, but the lead that they had over Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, Martin, will now go.
It's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. It does enable them to cool everything down. It does extend the life of their tyres, which they were under pressure on compared to the Mercedes. They still have critically track position. Remember what Christian said?
Yeah. Is he still in my window? Hey, Firm's still inside the window. So safety car, safety car.
Tell you what, there's a big...
yeah, Vettel just inside our safety car window by 1 second.
So that's why they didn't pit the Ferraris then.
Yeah.
So track position is key here.
Yeah.
And as Christian Horner was saying to us, you need to be 2 seconds faster than the car in front to overtake them. So that's why they were just inside the window. So that's why Ferrari didn't pit. And what it has done is helped Leclerc, because he was 4 and a bit seconds behind. He can now restart on the gearbox of Sebastian Vettel. So all that good work Vettel did through the traffic has just been negated.
First race retirement for Williams in 2019, and George Russell's got to find his way somehow back to the paddock, which is not the easiest thing to do from the outside of turn 8 down by the Padang and the content area. There's a fairly decent gap between Hamilton and his teammate Bottas. I don't suppose, Anthony, they're thinking of pitting Hamilton now behind the safety car.
No, that was the best things we could do. Head down, the race is long. Let's concentrate on the safety car. You're doing a super job. Watch your tires and head down.
Yeah, my head is down and it will be down until the race. But I just want to let you know my feeling.
I assume, Anthony, his feeling is that he doesn't agree with the strategy today.
Exactly, yeah. I was listening to the previous radio message to that one, and he was just really questioning what they've done today to his strategy on his side of the garage, and then that message followed. So he's clearly upset. He's pushed his tyres hard, don't forget, following Sebastian, and then he asked, well, can we fight? And they've said, well, yeah, you can fight, but you keep it clean.
Thanks,
to be completely honest with you, I don't understand at all the undercut. But, yeah, whatsoever, we'll discuss after the race. But
well, the only way, Martin, that Ferrari, I'm sure, can explain the undercut is that they didn't feel that Charles Leclerc could have pitted first and come back out into a gap, but his teammate could have done.
Yeah, no, but Vettel did. Vettel came out into quite a big gap, a gap that Leclerc would have also dropped into.
In which case, then, what is the explanation?
Well, I don't know why they chose to do that. Whether they were trying to force Mercedes in Mercedes' hand, but then, as we said at the time, as I said at the time, you know, they had to pit Leclerc immediately. This is going to be quite a long safety car, because recovering that car from there, being a street circuit.
Or will be racing chance at the restart. Give each other space, don't take any risk.
Don't take any risk. So there's no service road like you get on a traditional...
The nearest way they can get it completely off the track is if they go against the flow, turn right, and head to the Esplanade Bridge, where there is a runoff area down there.
Yeah. So, and it'll take a little while to clear that away. And I think basically what they've just told Vettel is, right, he's coming for you. He's certainly not happy, and I think he's every right not to be happy. He got pole, he led the race, he followed instructions on the pace, and then they leapfrogged him with his teammate with an undercut.
Yeah. The only way I know that there's a escape route to the right of turn 8, Martin, is I discovered on my track run the other day when I thought I might use it as a shortcut to get back to the hotel, because I was flagging a bit by that stage.
Between turn 7 and 14,
That's
isn't it?
right.
It's, we went through there in the medical car as well, where they practice shortcuts if they want to get to an incident in the second half of the lap quickly.
Great feature that, by the way. I'm sure if you go to skysportsf1.com, you'll be able to see that. Martin having some great access with Dr. Ian Roberts and Alan van der Merwe, and looking at the work that the medical team do at each and every Grand Prix. Absolutely fascinating. As has been this Singapore Grand Prix, where for the 12th time in 12 years of the Singapore Grand Prix here at the Marina Bay Circuit, we've got a safety car on the track. We have one every year.
Caliper temps, okay. Yep, happy with caliper temps.
And let's just put into perspective what has happened so far. If you're only just joining us, Ferrari controlling the race with Charles Leclerc, whose teammate Sebastian Vettel pitted before he did. And when Leclerc finally pitted, Sebastian Vettel is ahead of his teammate, which has rather irked the Monegasque driver, and he'd like to know the reason for that after the race has finished. Mercedes decided to stay out. Max Verstappen and Red Bull thought, no, we should actually go in. Bottas pitted before Mercedes was asked to play the team game and just hold everyone back a bit. So by the time Hamilton pitted, he was ahead of Bottas, but now he was behind Verstappen, behind Vettel, and still behind Charles Leclerc. Ferrari are 1-2 in this race from Verstappen, Hamilton and Bottas. Albon's been running around in 6th place for pretty much most of the race. Lando Norris has run quite a lonely race as well in 7th. He's doing rather nicely. We have lost George Russell from this race. We nearly lost Carlos Sainz, who got hit by Nico Hülkenberg at turn 5 on the opening lap and suffered a bit of aerodynamic damage. That's why he's a lap down and running in 19th. And we've had an Alfa Romeo lead the race as well. And if I can remember any more, I'll tell you later.
Sebastian Vettel won part 1 of this Grand Prix, and we're about to enter part 2, when it really matters, when they hand the prizes out.
What have we got? Lap 38. Yeah, we're not going to get going just yet, by the way, because Carlos Sainz can overtake a few cars and unlap himself. We've got 47 minutes, pretty much, on our clock. And we have got, what, 20, 22, 23 laps to go. 40 cents, so we should get all 61 laps in. Ferrari will be hoping for about another 7 laps behind the safety car, and then we'll just go to a 2-hour time limit, which will help them because they pitted before Mercedes.
I think it's optional letting the lap cars through rather than mandatory. There's only one of them in Carlos Sainz, who had the early issues, of course.
Yeah. The trouble is he is going to have to come through because he's just in front of Valtteri Bottas at the moment.
He is now, because he's been making his way through quite a lot of cars, and then they give him time to get away. There he is in the orange McLaren down there to get up the road. I don't think they'll wait the full amount of time to let him catch the pack back up on this long circuit. Sainz is now clear and he can go. Unfortunately, it looks like we've got another lap of safety car then. But that plays into the hands, I would say, of Ferrari, of anybody, because anything they can do to extend the life of these tyres.
Sebastian Vettel then, out in front, in the lead of this Grand Prix. Got to go back to 2012, the last time he qualified 3rd at a Singapore Grand Prix at a race that he won on that particular evening. And after he had pole position taken off his hands by Charles Leclerc last night, he held provisional pole before Leclerc, and then Hamilton went faster. Could he be about to take victory here this evening? Will Ferrari decide they need to switch their drivers around to make it fairer on Leclerc, who doesn't like the strategy? Safety car is ending at the end of this lap.
So we heard Mercedes playing their game, didn't they, and holding Bottas back, so they didn't end up with this situation. It was more manageable at that phase of the Grand Prix. I don't think they have that command over Sebastian Vettel, and I don't think he'd pay any attention to it either. I think we're about to see a good fight between the 2 Ferrari drivers.
Yes, so Charles Leclerc trying to win a 3rd consecutive Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel doing his damnedest to prove that he is still a man that can win for Ferrari. He hasn't won a race since Spa last year, 392 days ago. Boy, oh boy, would he like victory here at the Marina Bay Circuit for the 5th time this evening. He'd be the most successful driver on this track. I think it'd be the first time he'd won 5 races on a circuit in his career. never won 5 times at an F1 track in his career before. And it would all come at a very good time for Sebastian Vettel, who's been a little down in the doldrums and has made the odd error or two. Still trying to prove, and proving as well, time to time, that he is one of the top drivers in Formula One. He's got a safety car restart now to survive. His tyres will have got colder. Brake temperatures would have got colder. His teammate getting hotter under the visor and itching to get past him.
Max Verstappen is in an interesting place, isn't he? Right behind the 2 Ferraris with the 2 Works Mercedes in his mirrors for good measure.
Best form of defence there could be attack.
Yes.
But if he can get close enough to the Ferraris down the straights.
So they've got to give the safety car enough time to get away.
These guys ahead got over 20 laps.
Over 20 laps to do on tyres. That's a bit marginal until the safety car came out. Under the grandstand they go.
They're stalling the engine, surely. It's going so slow. It's Vettel's prerogative. It can go when he wants to, and that's now.
And he has, and they can't overtake, of course, until they cross the line, in which they're going to do once again. Sebastian Vettel, we're going racing once more here in Singapore on lap 41. Sebastian Vettel leads from Leclerc, from Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas and Albon, and Hamilton sticking very close to the rear of that Red Bull.
No DRS for 2 laps after a safety car comes in. But Lewis is certainly fancying a jump. He's dropped back a little bit from the Red Bull there.
He has. Can he get a decent slipstream then down Raffles Boulevard? Look at the Ferraris. They're absolutely flying out in front. It was Leclerc at the start. It's Vettel. The restarts on this occasion. And all the top 6 then going through with Lando Norris right behind Alex Albon. Then comes Kevin Magnussen, Kimi Räikkönen, Sergio Perez, Lance Stroll, and also Pierre Gasly. And they bang tyre to tyre as Stroll tries to get past Gasly. Just manages to stay ahead in a battle for 11th place at the moment. It's going to continue onwards as round the Padang and the entertainment area they go through turn 9 and 10. The Racing Point has to tuck in behind the Toro Rosso, and there you've got Nico Hülkenberg right behind them. The safety cars helped Daniel Ricciardo because he had another puncture, went down to the back of the field. He's now in 16th place and a lot closer to some cars in front.
They've dropped the Mercedes a little bit on the restart, so tyre warm-up looks like it's not quite as good for Mercedes.
Here goes Hülkenberg and Stroll. Stroll's got the inside line, though, on Hülkenberg, who switches round, wants to get decent traction, coming out of that corner, and does so. Hülkenberg ahead of Stroll.
Norris maintaining his place there in 7th, as best of the rest after the top 3 teams, the big 3. And he's got just...
Oh, it's a big lock up there by Lance Stroll. And he's got Antonio Giovinazzi with him. And he's got damage. He's got a puncture. Has Lance Stroll. Involved in a few battles there. First with Gasly and then with Räikkönen on the restart. Stroll's got a puncture and he's limping home.
Box this lap, box this lap.
I wonder if he hit the wall, because when he banged with Gasly, Martin, it was on the other side of the car. And I wonder if Lance Stroll has hit the wall here, and that's why he's got that puncture. Let's just have a quick look here. Oh, he's got Gasly on his outside. So there's the tyre banging that was going on. But that is not going to give you a puncture on the front left.
It's kind of fair enough, that one. Good hard racing. So where has he clouted the front left? Could have been slightly earlier. Obviously got wing damage as well, so that suggests a firmer contact, doesn't it? So the 2 Ferrari boys getting way at the front a little bit from Max Verstappen.
Let's head to Anthony Davidson at Sky Race Control, who's got all the tools at his disposal, as you could on the Sky Sports F1 app as well. He's riding on board with quite a few drivers, just like you could on the app. Anthony, what happened to Lance Stroll?
Turn 17, guys, just turned in and hit the wall all by himself. Clipped the inside wall, gave himself a puncture.
Oh dear. That's not the first time he's hit the wall this weekend as well, but it's certainly the most damaging over the course of the weekend. Lance Stroll, who was running up in the top 5 at one stage and is now down in 19th place. Carlos Sainz has managed to get ahead of him. That's real bad luck for the Canadian driver. So, out in front, Sebastian Vettel, 7/10 ahead of his teammate Charles Leclerc. How long can Leclerc run behind the other Ferrari and try and keep pressure on him. The Ferraris lapping in the 1:46s, as was Max Verstappen on that last lap. Lewis Hamilton was about 6/10 slower. Valtteri Bottas was nearly a second slower than Sebastian Vettel, and he's got Alex Albon for company, and Norris just behind Alex Albon as well, as we ride on board with Nico Hülkenberg in 12th place. Pierre Gasly, the car in front of him. Sergio Perez, who started outside the points, is now up into 10th for Racing Point, but he's under pressure.
Yeah, Mercedes really struggling with warm-up on those hard compound tyres. Leclerc pushing crazy hard now. He's winning DRS as well, coming back at his teammate. That's personal now.
So, Hülkenberg, we'll see that Gasly's got a bit of DRS, but he's got pace, hasn't he, over that Toro Rosso as Hülkenberg, and don't count him out of a decent points finish here. Now we get to turn 8. This is where Grosjean went into the back of George Russell. The stewards are looking at that incident. This time Hülkenberg and Gasly managed to avoid each other, and somehow Pierre Gasly manages to stay ahead of that Renault as well. This is a brilliant scrap going on, and you can see how the rest are catching up behind Danny Kvyat, and then Giovinazzi, and then Daniel Ricciardo.
This is over World Championship points, isn't it? There's World Championship points available to everybody. Magnussen, Raikkonen, Perez, Gasly, Hülkenberg, Kvyat, Giovinazzi, even Ricciardo.
They could all go for it now. Sergio Perez, what's happened to the Racing Point? Perez going very slowly indeed, and this looks like mechanical trouble for the Mexican. As one Racing Point hits the wall and suffers a puncture, 2 laps later the other Racing Point slows down and comes to a stop.
Let's see where he stopped exactly, and whether they might need to recover that car.
7 previous point-scoring finishes here for Sergio Perez, who finished 16th last year to end a perfect record, and I think it's going to be 2 pointless trips to Singapore in 2 visits. So there's a yellow flag being waved down there whilst they try and push that car away. I think he was looking, Martin, wasn't he, for a space so that the safety car wouldn't come out.
Yeah, on such tight confines, you can't put marshals onto a live track here. But did he get it somewhere near an access road? It's between turns 13 and 14, apparently, where he stopped. Haven't seen him again yet, have we?
No, we certainly haven't. So, lap 44, and he walks away, Sergio Perez, from his Racing Point. Been a bit of a wretched week all round for him, really. He was feeling very much under the weather on Thursday, and that's not going to help improve his demeanour one iota. So, out in front, the gap between the leader and his teammate, 9/10 of a second. Vettel and Leclerc. We have got a safety car. So while we've got a safety car here then, for a second time in this race, let's bring in Damon Hill, an exclusive member of an exclusive club. Damon, drivers who've won their first 3 races consecutively. Charles Leclerc was looking good for that dinner invitation at one stage, but what do you reckon now?
Well, the invitation is still open, David, and currently it's just me and Mika are going to go for dinner, but I still think this race is a long way from over. It's absolutely fascinating tactically. It's a head-scratcher. I have to say, I did think that the Mercedes team should have brought in Lewis Hamilton, because he'd be on a fresh set of tyres, and of course with the safety car, every time the safety car comes in, it's robbing the advantage that the Mercedes team had of their fresher tyres, because it's saving the tyres on the Ferraris. So I know, of course, Charles Leclerc is desperate to get right up against his teammate. He's been given the green light. So we're going to see what happens in the next restart.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Damon. No chance of pitting behind this safety car, Martin, because any one of the top 5 who decided to do that find themselves towards the back very quickly.
Yeah, it would be crazy now, wouldn't it? Safety cars often breed safety cars through incidents. Yeah. Obviously, this is just about reliability. And they should be able to wheel that car, as long as the clutch opens up, to wheel it down the hill to that same gap. Sort of just on the exit of turn 7, there's a little cut through to turn 14 at the end of the Esplanade.
So what are we on? Lap 45 of 61, 16 laps to go, 35 minutes to go of the 2-hour window that you need to run a race in. So each race has a maximum time of 2 hours. We might be right on the limits with this second safety car. He didn't get, did he, to the runoff area? That was the trouble.
No, but
he rises uphill there, and he couldn't freewheel.
Whether he could have done or not, I don't know, but he decided to switch it off. We now got a recovery vehicle on track as well. So we're in for another reasonably lengthy safety car period. And this plays again into Ferrari's hands and again into Vettel's hands.
I assume then there was a sensor suggesting that something was about to go wrong with that Racing Point car. I think, is Lance Stroll going to be retired from this race? He's just coming in for a pit stop. He'd only just come in for a pit stop, but as Lance Stroll had another new set of soft compound tyres, they might as well use it behind the safety car. He's got time to catch up with the pack, whilst the crane comes on to try and get rid of Sergio Perez's car. And Perez now on the back of a moped to get himself back to the paddock. He doesn't want to stop anywhere near there to watch the Red Hot Chili Peppers later on. I assume he's not a fan, to be fair.
Yeah, Stroll may as well do that, because he'll come up to the back of the pack on a fresh set of soft tyres. So
this is helping Ferrari, obviously. Yeah. The more laps they do at a slow pace, it's okay for staying with them then. And the more laps they do at this slow pace, and the more chance we have of this race being shortened by a couple of laps because we've reached the 2-hour time limit, helps the team that came in first. Not just Ferrari, of course, Max Verstappen as well.
Yeah, of course, on the last restart, the Mercedes didn't fire its tyres up.
No.
Apparently that well, did it? Took them a lap before they got back onto Ferrari's pace.
Verstappen right there in between the Mercedes and the Ferrari. He found himself just a little bit too far back at the restart to mount a challenge. And the conundrum is what modes have they got behind the two Ferraris to give Verstappen, Hamilton or Bottas a bit of extra pace to get close to the team that are seemingly fastest in a straight line and who happen to be out 1 and 2 in this race.
You'd be surfing into the barriers if you went onto some of those marbles at the wrong time around this racetrack.
Certainly would. Karun, now to you.
Yeah, in fact, I was just going to mention, I've seen Max drive onto the marbles a few times under the safety car, so he's obviously trying to get a bit of air come through to the brakes, maybe into the car just to cool it down, but it's forced him offline onto that surf and turf. Well, listen, just a quick line on some of the others while we've got the safety car going on. Norris having a great race in 7th place, best of the rest behind the top teams. And he's really claimed that position early on, hasn't he, after that incident between Hulkenberg and Sainz?
Restart, we do shock 7 again. That will help. I want everything. Even engine mode.
Charles, we need to bring the car home, Charles. We need to manage the PU and bring the car home.
Yeah. I won't do anything stupid. It's not my goal. I want us to finish 1-2. I just think it's not fair. But yeah, this won't change. I won't be stupid, don't worry.
Yeah, I want to finish 1-2, but just not in the order it is at the moment. That Charles Leclerc said, I understand the team game, but you've cost me here.
Yeah,
so give me everything to get this back again.
He's making it very clear, isn't he?
Yeah,
just pointing out Kevin Magnussen as well, Crofty, finally has seemed to be hanging on to a position in the points here. We're quite deep in the Grand Prix, 15 laps to go. Could they stop the slump that they've been in for quite some while?
Well, absolutely. Kevin Magnussen, who set the fastest lap here, of course, last year, never finished higher than 10th, currently running in 8th place.
Charles Leclerc is like a caged tiger, isn't he? He feels he's been cheated, hard done by, out of this potential victory.
You're doing a good job with tyres now, better than before. Well done.
Keeping them a bit warmer, presumably.
Caged tiger. How do you defend against a caged tiger? What has Sebastian Vettel got to defend against? But he's got engine modes himself. And the thing is, whatever people think of why Charles Leclerc didn't come in first and why Vettel was given the undercut, if they give Leclerc all the engine modes necessary, then Sebastian Vettel will say, you need to give me the same, and treat me equally.
Yeah, he's very calm in it, though, isn't he? He's like, okay, I'm not going to take us out, but I want to run at the victory to sort this out. Safety car in this lap.
This is Hamilton. He's in a bid to keep his brakes a little bit warmer and his tyres a bit warmer. Nearly ran into the back of Max Verstappen there, and Verstappen would quite like Leclerc to get on with it seems, as well. Good job the safety car is coming in this lap. They're all acting like caged tigers.
It's so easy to do under a safety car, to run into the back of somebody else while you're busy sorting stuff out on your own steering wheel and warming your own tyres and brakes.
This is definitely, Martin, even with my basic mathematical knowledge, I think this could definitely be less than the 61 laps. We've got 29 minutes to go.
Well, 4 of the previous 11 races here have timed out, haven't they, before the laps ran out?
I think we are going to... It might be that lap 61 is that final lap. You get to the 2-hour limit, and then there's a lap after that. But we're gonna nudge it at this rate, because it's going to be at least another minute before they get racing again.
Yeah, it depends if they have another safety car, doesn't it? We'll just worry about that in about 12 laps, 11 laps time. But you're right, it could well time out.
Well, Ferrari will want it to time out, I think. It's got to help them, given that they put their tyres on some 8 laps before the Mercedes. And there's the sight from the helicam, looking down on the streets of Singapore. Well, there are a few Ferraris around here, and at the moment it's a Ferrari 1-2. Well, we haven't had a constructor finish 1-2 ever in the history of the Singapore Grand Prix here at Marina Bay. Behind the 2 Ferraris, Max Verstappen, who's always a man to be feared when there's some wheel-to-wheel combat in order. Lewis Hamilton, who's earned a reputation for doing exactly the same thing in 4th place. Valtteri Bottas, who could get handy too. Alex Albon got nothing to lose, surely, from 6th place as well.
You can't pass until you get to the finish line on the pit straight. And there goes...
Well, there goes Seb again. And there goes Charles Leclerc again. And I think Leclerc is a little bit closer to his teammate than he was at the last safety car restart. And no wonder what that's going to do by the time we get to the first heavy braking zone here. Over the line and into the first corner we go, and looking a little bit further back, Pierre Gasly had a look on Kimi Räikkönen, Danny Kvyat had a little look as well on Nico Hülkenberg, and they stream now towards turn 5, and Sebastian Vettel building a nice buffer. Valtteri Bottas is right on the tail of his teammate Lewis Hamilton as well, and Charles Leclerc is going to get frustrated because he hasn't got close enough to Sebastian Vettel on this straight to mount a challenge. Verstappen goes through, Hamilton and then Bottas.
Mercedes look a little bit stronger on this restart.
They're certainly closer to Max Verstappen. We look once again. Nico Hülkenberg has Pierre Gasly ahead of him, and Gasly is now charging after Kevin Magnussen in the Haas. Point or two to prove, hasn't he? Pierre Gasly is racing superbly well tonight. Giovinazzi passes Kvyat. Down the inside goes Danny Ricciardo on Daniel Kvyat. And has he, by the time they get to the chicane, run out of room? Yes, he has, and Romain Grosjean might say thank you very much here as well as we head over the Anderson Bridge. Grosjean on the outside, Ricciardo on the inside. Ricciardo pushes Grosjean a little bit wide. They make contact, but Grosjean manages to get through. Here's Kevin Magnussen and Pierre Gasly going into turn 14. Gasly's ahead, Hülkenberg's ahead. Magnussen's lost 2 places in 1 corner. Happened to Danny Kvyat a bit earlier on. Carlos Sainz now racing with Danny Ricciardo, and Sainz has got ahead of Ricciardo with Lance Stroll right behind the Australian.
That bold overtaking to turn 10's cost Ricciardo 3 places in the end.
He's got nothing to lose, but sadly he lost 3 places on that occasion. He was out of the points and trying to make amends from starting at the back of the grid and having that puncture as well. Back at the front, Sebastian Vettel, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Then comes Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Alex Albon and Lando Norris. Then comes Pierre Gasly and Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen. And Antonio Giovinazzi on fresher tyres gets past his teammate Kimi Räikkönen, who's got Danny Kvyat for company in 12th place and 13th. Giovinazzi deserves a point today.
Yeah, he can get after Magnussen now with his tyres, and he's got a good chance of that. So look at that, Leclerc very close, but Verstappen keeping them honest as well.
DRS on the next lap, and if Leclerc can stay this close to his teammate, he's going to get assistance under pressure. Kimi Räikkönen from Danny Kvyat. Raikkonen stays ahead going into turn 7. Look at the slide that Romain Grosjean's got going on through that left-hander.
Again, this is all over just the final few points in the far end of the top 10. Where's Leclerc?
He's 9/10 behind Sebastian Vettel, waiting, I think, for DRS to come into the equation as well. Verstappen a second ahead of Lewis Hamilton, more than a second ahead of Lewis Hamilton, about 1.7 seconds. We can have a look now at Magnussen getting passed by Pierre Gasly, and as he had to avoid the Toro Rosso.
Amazing.
They like that down at Toro Rosso.
I think now, if there's no further safety cars, the leaders will not catch any further traffic. I think they've got a clear run now, pretty much for the rest of the Grand Prix, because they all got backed up behind the safety car. So it's a straight fight.
Well, that's good. We've got the best right up there at the top. Leclerc, 1.023 seconds was behind Sebastian Vettel, going through the DRS detection zone. He might just have got it under a second, and that's certainly going to help his chances. Kimi Raikkonen's under pressure once again from Kvyat. Kvyat's going to have a go into turn 1. Oh dear!
Broken suspension.
That is Kimi Raikkonen out of the Grand Prix. Danny Kvyat got it all wrong, braking and arriving from late. Is that another safety car in this race?
Without question, he's right in the firing line with one wheel pointing in the wrong direction.
Double yellow flags being waved. They can still carry on racing on this sector, of course, because that's not where the accident took place. Down the inside goes Daniel Ricciardo on Danny Kvyat, who's not exactly come out unscathed from that contact with Kimi Raikkonen. Kimi tried to turn in. There was a Toro Rosso there. Whether he saw him coming or not, there was no room by the time he put a little left hand down. One would suggest when he next sees Danny Kvyat, he might raise a right finger up.
Kvyat got himself to the apex.
Come on, just in front of me.
Was slightly,
Unbelievable.
Kvyat was slightly ahead. I just don't think that Kimi was expecting it. You don't normally have somebody lunge you into turn 1 here.
No, they did not like that whatsoever. And sadly, the outcome for Kimi Raikkonen is that he's retired for the race, and for the first time in 2019. And the outcome for us is that we've got another safety car, which I think is one safety car too many in terms of the grandstand finish that we all want to see here. If you're Sebastian Vettel, you might think that his former teammate's done him a bit of a favour there, because that's a few more laps and a bit more time that he hasn't got to put up with any charge from his teammate behind him.
Yeah, and a good chance now that this race will time out at 2 hours before it runs out of 61 laps. Not an easy car to get away either. No. But they're going to have to lift it. But it had to be a safety car because he's right in the firing line on the outside of the corner.
So out of the race, Kimi Raikkonen, who crashed on lap 50, tangling with Danny Kvyat. Sergio Perez with mechanical trouble, told by the team to stop his car, not quite sure why. Could be an engine issue. A sensor would have picked up something that they didn't like. He's using a freshish, try saying that one, engine is Sergio Perez, but it's not the brand new spec that they brought after the summer break, Mercedes. They still haven't been able to produce the new spec engine for him, despite the fact that he took an engine penalty after the new spec, the original new spec, went bang for him. And we've lost George Russell for the first time in 2019 and the Williams for the first time in 2019 after an accident with Romain Grosjean. Romain Grosjean, who really has been in a few tangles and tussles this weekend.
So we've got 11 laps to go, including this one, with 20 minutes remaining. Depends how long this safety car is, doesn't it? They might just sneak into that last lap.
I wouldn't imagine this safety car would take too long, as there is a nice exit escape route down at turn 1.
Lifted, hasn't it? You can't roll that car away.
Would you give... Oh, it's coming in at the end of this lap. That's the last thing Kimi Räikkönen needs, isn't it? The people in the expensive seats to take a few photos and give him a round of applause. He'd still like to be out there, I'm sure. Sebastian Vettel, is he your driver of the day at the moment? He's not put a foot wrong, but some would argue.
Good through the traffic, wasn't he? When they did give him a set of tyres. His teammate had the right to the strategy, didn't get it. He's certainly driven well.
I'm trying to preempt what tweets are going to come through on Ask Crofty tonight, and I think some are going to say, well done Charles Leclerc, great, well done Sebastian Vettel, great to see that he could win a Grand Prix here. Some might say, oh, Charles Leclerc, this victory was taken away.
Gone much earlier this time.
Yes.
So them napping a bit.
And that, I think, shows real experience from Sebastian Vettel on that one. They were all expecting him to back up the pack a bit more, and he didn't do it. If he's called them napping, he's called them napping for more than 40 winks, because he's got a very nice advantage heading into turn one as we get racing again. 10 laps to go in this race.
That was a wily old fox there of Vettel, having performed exactly the same trick on the previous restart, just suddenly going 2 corners earlier.
Hamilton is very close now to Max Verstappen. Now, I wonder, can Hamilton get past the Red Bull? Don't forget, Lewis Hamilton was running second in this race. Mercedes went one way on strategy, and it seems to have cost them at the moment a couple of places in terms of Lewis Hamilton, who hasn't had the best of it in the last 3 races, you could argue, but hasn't exactly seen much of a dent in his championship lead. He might lose a few points to those around him on this particular occasion.
Uh-oh, 2 Hasses.
Something weird with the difference of it. I had a full vehicle before the restart.
Copy, Nico. Keep focused.
Oh, poor old Nico Hülkenberg. He's another that's had a really good race, as well as Carlos Sainz under pressure from Daniel Ricciardo, and then Danny Kvyat, and then Lance Stroll, because they're going to keep scrapping right to the end as well. And yes, as you said, 2 Hasses. We've got Romain Grosjean right behind his teammate Kevin Magnussen. And the stewards are going to look at the Raikkonen and Kvyat incident after the race. Carlos Sainz, what is he running at the moment, down in 13th place? And is he managing to get past Kevin Magnussen? Down the inside goes Carlos Sainz. He might still be on for a point in this race, Carlos Sainz. From absolutely nowhere. The safety cars have helped him, and Magnussen's lost out to Daniel Ricciardo, who's getting his elbows out down at turn 18 as well. That safety car restart's cost Kevin Magnussen. He's lost all the temperature in his tyres. He's got absolutely no grip. Whilst his teammate, Romain Grosjean, carries on in 11th place, and Leclerc now 9/10 or so behind his teammate Sebastian Vettel. 9 laps to go in this race. Hamilton, same 9/10 behind Max Verstappen. Magnussen leading the Toro Rosso of Kvyat, and then Stroll, and after him Robert Kubica through the first couple of turns. You see there that's how Magnussen's dropping back.
Magnussen's had those tyres on since lap 18.
Yeah.
Leclerc back in the DRS zone up front. He can get his rear wing open. I'm sure he hasn't given up on that yet.
Oh, big sparks there from underneath Danny Kvyat's Toro Rosso. And Lance Stroll right behind him. Out in front, Leclerc matching Vettel's pace through the first sector. Don't forget he gets DRS on the next lap if he's within a second of his teammate to help him get a little bit closer, as Stroll now lines up Kvyat.
I think something is wrong with the car, Brad. I have a lot of damage. I feel like I'm going to crash.
Well, if he feels like he's going to crash, he's still giving it absolutely everything to try and get past Danny Kvyat as well. He's not exactly hanging back there, is Lance Stroll. 21% of you say Sebastian Vettel is your driver of the day. 16% say Charles Leclerc. Here goes Lance Stroll, but he pulls out of the move.
It's, on the soft tyres, of course, Lance Stroll. He came in. My driver did, I think it'd be Norris, actually.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Lando Norris finishes this race and actually has a bit of reward in terms of points for what has been a sterling job on his first experience in F1 on the streets of Singapore. DRS is enabled now to enter race control.
Yeah, so they're giving Charles Leclerc all the tools, guys. They've told him he's got K1 Plus mode. Just for info, they're giving him K1 for every restart that they've done. I've listened to him and Sebastian's car. So K1 is the restart mode. That gives them obviously a lot of power. Charles just been given K1 Plus.
Wow, extra improved mode.
Norris got some work to do yet, though. Gasly's coming at him with 13-lap fresher tyres. Remember, he ran very long on a set of hards at the beginning. He's now on medium. Lando Norris on a set of very used hard tyres. So the safety car has played well into Gasly's hands. He's dragging Hülkenberg along with him. So Norris doesn't have that 7th place under control yet.
No, he doesn't. Hülkenberg with diff issues, gearbox issues, and hoping he can nurse his car home and retain the couple of points that he's got. Behind him, Antonio Giovinazzi is going a little bit quicker as well. So we're back now to Kevin Magnussen, Lance Stroll and Danny Kvyat. And Lance Stroll has managed to get past the Toro Rosso, and he's now sizing up Kevin Magnussen for a little attack into the next sequence of corners into the left-hander at turn 10. He's almost pushing that hat, isn't he, through the corners.
It's like a crazy Formula Ford race back in the field, isn't it?
It's brilliant. I just wish we could see this, Martin, right at the front from time to time as well. Sometimes we do. We're not getting it at the moment. I think Sebastian Vettel moving himself out of DRS threat from his teammate as well, which will help him defend. As out of the corner, Lance Stroll gets a much better exit than Kevin Magnussen, and they're going wheel to wheel towards the next right-hander, and by the time they get there, the Racing Point is ahead and up into 14th place. Ricciardo and Sainz getting closer to Grosjean as Kvyat now wants to have a little look at Kevin Magnussen. Fair play, Robert Kubica sticking to the back of this train as well, down in 17th place. Let's have a look at Stroll once more.
Stroll on the much better tyres, so is able to rotate the car and just get so much better drive out of the corner. Job done.
Yeah, and is this job done for Sebastian Vettel? Not in terms of he can see the checkered flag yet, but he's got out of the DRS threat from his teammate for the moment. He survived 3 safety car restarts, started 3rd, now 1st, and he hasn't won for 392 days. Is that run going to come to an end here in Singapore? Behind him, behind his teammate Verstappen and Hamilton, still chance for those two to have a moment or two on the way to the final podium place. Valtteri Bottas seemingly set in 5th. Alex Albon, who, to be fair, Alex Albon's kept out of trouble, kept out of people's way, hasn't really got close to the battles in front, but on his first experience of the Singapore street circuit, I think has done an equally good job as Lando Norris. As Danny Kvyat gets past Kevin Magnussen, and that's down in 15th place.
Yeah, Magnussen was running so well. It seems 5 minutes since we were talking about him scoring some World Championship points. He's now running last but one. The tyres have given up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been the trouble that Haas have been suffering from pretty much all season long. Ferrari 1-2, and Vettel just sets a new fastest lap of the race, possibly taking another point away from his teammate Charles Leclerc, who held the fastest lap before that. Behind them, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, who's now within DRS range of the Red Bull.
They're motoring on the lap record. Well, certainly better than they were at the beginning. The lap record, though, was a 1:41.
Yeah.
Something held by Magnussen, Kevin Magnussen from last year, on a fresh set of tyres near the end of the Grand Prix, presumably.
His and Haas's only fastest lap in the team's 77 Grand Prix career so far. The track that Red Bull have finished 1st and 2nd at in each of the 9 races in this decade. Well, they're on for a podium at the moment, but it's going to be 3rd place today unless something happens out in front. Something happens to either of the 2 Ferraris.
So at this pace, it is possible they'll just sneak into their 61st and last lap.
And Sebastian Vettel, George Russell, has finally made his way back to the Williams garage. He was a long way away when Romain Grosjean tagged him. He's finally got back to the comfort of his team. Whatever you think about the Ferrari strategy today, Martin, Sebastian Vettel has coped really well under pressure.
Great race. And you have to say, Ferrari got it right, Mercedes got it wrong.
Yeah.
It just didn't play into their hands on this occasion.
They took a gamble, Mercedes, that when the Ferraris came up to a midfield pack that was scrapping away, then they get held up enough for Mercedes to take advantage, and it didn't quite work out for them on this occasion. 5 laps to go before Sebastian Vettel can claim victory for a 5th time under the lights in Singapore.
There's nothing to be done, is there, anywhere amongst this top 5? Bottas still closing in on Hamilton a little bit, but on the previous lap anyway. They can all see each other. They just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I think Lewis Hamilton has just been on the radio saying, man, you just can't follow anyone close enough around here. I don't think he's overly enamoured with this place tonight, but ask him about his 4 career wins here. I think he loved it then.
Yeah, it hasn't played into their hands. There'll be a bit of a post-mortem on that one in terms of why they left him out. It certainly cost him track position.
In the Drivers' Championship then, Charles Leclerc will move ahead of Max Verstappen. They'll be tied on 200 points, but Leclerc obviously has won more races this season. Kevin Magnussen gets a tyre change, and that'll be great comfort for him then.
Well, because he won't get fastest lap point anyway, will he?
No, he could get the fastest lap, but just won't get a point for it.
If he's not in the top 10, yeah.
But, they might as well just give him a fresh set of tyres. He's got them, use them, and go a little bit faster. And Sebastian Vettel going fast enough out there to keep his teammate out of range and to stop Charles Leclerc getting too close. You just get the feeling that Hamilton, try as hard as he might, can't get close enough to get a decent go at the Red Bull and a run at the Red Bull down the straight.
So the Haas Ferrari might just be stealing a point off the Works Ferrari team if they do take fastest lap without actually getting the point themselves.
Are you allowed to do that?
So Vettel's got it covered out front, hasn't he? Yeah. Now a 2.1 second lead, pumping in his personal best, which are the best of anybody, a 44.802.
Yeah, Charles Leclerc today led Ferrari's 15,000th lap in the F1 Championship, but he's not at this rate going to be leading at the crucial moment when they reach the checkered flag.
So a couple of very punchy overtakes from Vettel. When he did that early start, the final safety car restart, coming out of turn 21, back end of the car was desperately trying to step out on him as well. But he's kept it all together.
He certainly has. He got moves done when he needed it. He was the holder of a point for the fastest lap. Danny Kvyat's just nicked that off him, but won't get a point for it because Danny's running down in 15th place.
Leclerc very wide there, coming off the bridge, and that's put Verstappen closer to him. That was a clumsy little left-hander there, and Hamilton not too far behind either.
Yeah, it's tightening up just a little bit as through turn 14 they go. He's still got a decent buffer, Charles Leclerc, ahead of the chasing Red Bull and Mercedes. Behind Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas has dropped back quite a bit at the moment. But I say drop back. I mean, he has, but maybe that was to get a bit of cleaner air so he could mount a challenge for a fastest lap.
Yeah, he would get a point for it as well. Leclerc locked up coming off the bridge. That's why he ended up falling away and back into the clutches of Verstappen a little bit. And he, as they go over the line, he's now 2.2 off the lead.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be locking up again, that's for sure. Hamilton is 7/10 as they cross the line behind Verstappen. Bottas did get a fastest lap, gets a point for that. On course for 11 points in this race then at the moment. Well, this could be interesting now. If Hamilton is still within a second, he gets DRS, of course, along the Raffles Boulevard, and this for a podium finish for either a Red Bull or the Mercedes. And look, Hamilton's gaining on Verstappen here. He's gaining on Verstappen, and he's not that far behind Verstappen as they apply the brakes from about 195 miles an hour to make that left-hand turn at about 80 miles an hour when they get to turn 7. How close can Hamilton live with Verstappen for the next sequence of corners before the next DRS zone comes his way?
It shows you how fast they could go, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If they had clear air in front of them.
Verstappen's got to watch himself a little bit here, because over the Anderson Bridge they go. Lewis Hamilton is right on his tail. And once again, podium place. If Lewis Hamilton's got a sniff of a podium finish here, he will certainly take it. It will be 147th podium in his Formula One career.
All Max has got to do is save his battery into turn 7 for the run to turn 7 and the run to turn 14.
Kevin Magnussen, for the second year running, is the holder of the fastest lap in Formula 1, and just like last year, he won't get a solitary point for it because he's running outside the top 10. You have to be in the top 10 to pick up that extra point, but that tyre change has done exactly what was intended at Haas and given Magnussen the honours there. Right, down the main straight we go with Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton as his father, Jos Verstappen, looks on. Tension in that Red Bull garage in the closing stages here. Hamilton wasn't as close as this when they came through the last lap.
I need more power and less flipping.
Negative. This is the best solution for the moment, Max.
And I think they will have given Lewis Hamilton more power in that Mercedes garage if it's possible, because they can sense that Verstappen is really struggling here. Now with the DRS, this is where you really start to see the gains from the Mercedes, but to be fair, Verstappen's done very well on that particular straight to keep ahead. But he could certainly do with a few more horses in that engine.
Yeah, Magnussen, fastest lap, but runs last, which kind of sums this Grand Prix up in a way, doesn't it? Very, very bizarre race in many respects. Intriguing. And I don't think in Lewis Hamilton's mind it's completely over yet.
Certainly not. I don't think in Sebastian Vettel's mind it's completely over yet. Or in Charles Leclerc's mind, because they know that anything could still happen on the run to the checkered flag, where 268,000 people have been here watching the action over the 3 days of the Singapore Grand Prix. And we're going right down to the wire in the race for the final podium in this race.
Norris keeping Gasly, Hülkenberg, Giovinazzi behind him at 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th.
Yep, and Hülkenberg on that last lap, a couple of tenths faster than Gasly. He's just a few tenths behind him now. Lando Norris has Pierre Gasly within DRS range as well in the battle for 7th place. Alex Albon ahead of them, scoring points at the moment for the 5th consecutive race and finishing in the top 6 in all 3 starts for Red Bull. So Sebastian Vettel then, Martin Brundle, has got 3 miles to go to take a first win since Spa last year.
And a 1-2 for Ferrari, the first 1-2 ever at this circuit by a team. And the 3rd straight victory for Ferrari. Mercedes-Benz are not used to this, are they, in this hybrid era?
No, Mercedes-Benz know that Ferrari challenge is coming, and it's coming strong, and it's reached the point now where maybe with the upgrade this weekend, the Ferrari can start to show its potential at more tracks than just the likes of Canada or at Monza or at Spa. There's a great scrap between those two coming between now and the end of the season.
So Lewis has got one final chance down at the end of the Esplanade straight.
And he's close enough at the moment.
Into turn 14, so he's got to get over the bridge. He'll have DRS.
Yeah.
And if not, it's over in terms of a podium.
Does he think about the championship or does he think about the podium? Is he close enough under braking to really go for it? Not on this particular occasion, as that's the chance of a podium gone for Lewis Hamilton. Right at the front of the field, Sebastian Vettel then continues on his way, leading for Ferrari, who, remember, won the last 2 races through Charles Leclerc and who haven't taken 3 consecutive race wins since 2008. It's been a long time coming for Ferrari. It's been a long time coming for Sebastian Vettel. For the first time in 2019, Sebastian Vettel takes the checkered flag and wins the Singapore Grand Prix. And a win that, unlike in Canada, will stand this time around. Sebastian Vettel wins for Ferrari. It's a 1-2 with Charles Leclerc coming home second. Max Verstappen picks up a final podium place for Red Bull, Lewis Hamilton, and Valtteri Bottas for Mercedes finishing just outside the podium positions. Then will come Albon, Norris, Gasly, Hülkenberg and Giovinazzi, and there's a right old scrap going on behind them. Romain Grosjean with Carlos Sainz right behind him, holds on to 11th place. Sainz 12th, Stroll 13th, then Ricciardo and Kvyat and Kubica. Sebastian Vettel is a winner finally in 2019.
Well done, sir.
Yes, Sebastian. P1. Nice job. 1 and 2 for Ferrari. Awesome job. Well managed.
He got the job done. And, yeah, there's going to be some interesting conversations after the race, because obviously Charles Leclerc feels that's been snatched away from him. But the strategy choices they took, Vettel's made it work.
I wonder if that debrief, Martin, will be as explosive as the scene we see around Marina Bay at the moment.
I would imagine.
Charles Leclerc, not a happy man that his teammate was given the preferred strategy, or what turned out to be the preferred strategy tonight here in Singapore. But what you can't take away is how Sebastian Vettel coped and how he turned that strategy into a race win.
Correct. Especially through the traffic when it mattered.
Yeah, well done, Max. You drove really hard for that one. You deserve that one. Well done to beat the Mercedes today.
Yeah, good job also with the pit stop. Yeah, looked like it was a bit tricky, but we cleared the traffic quite well, so good to be on the podium.
Yeah, I probably wish that he'd taken one or two of those rip-offs off on his visor. It looks worse from this side than it does from the other side, actually, always.
And I've finally got a chance to work out the Drivers' Championship, Martin. Lewis Hamilton finishes 4th, and the result is that his lead is now 64 points in the Drivers' Championship. Going into the race, it was 63 points in the Drivers' Championship. So, whatever he might think of the Mercedes strategy today in the long game, his march on towards what will be a 6th world title, it hasn't hurt.
Bravo Charles, sono Mattia, sono contento anche per te. Adesso vai a podio, gioisci e dopo avremo modo.
So the team boss comes on to say well done.
Yeah.
You'll have to forgive my understanding of the Italian language there. But I would imagine if it was an apology and an explanation as to why they did what they did. He's a very level-headed man, Mattia Binotto, and is there for both of his drivers.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Binotto. When he was losing races badly, very calm and level. When they had, well, it's now 3 straight victories, very calm and level. Just the head, you need to be the boss of Ferrari. And he's got some explaining to do. His young charger, Charles Leclerc, is going to be extremely unhappy.
He certainly is. This man, though, is going to be relieved and euphoric in equal measure.
I feel a digit coming on.
Yes, the digits that we've seen maybe 52 times before in Formula One for a 53rd. The one to say that I am the top dog tonight. And it is the 5th time that Sebastian Vettel, in car number 5, has stood on top of a cockpit here in Singapore as the race winner. It's a race win that's been a long time coming and well worth the wait as far as he's concerned. There's your digit, there's your race winner.
You know, from Ferrari's point of view, it turned a 1-3 into a 1-2, didn't it? From a team, and they don't have the luxury that Mercedes have, where they told Valtteri Bottas, slow down, mate, we need your teammate to come out in front of you.
Well, yeah, from a team perspective, there is the explanation right there. Yeah. Sorry, Charles, but we got a 1-2 out of it.
Yeah, we turned a 1-3 into a 1-2.
The undercut always powerful here in Singapore, and so it proved tonight. Charles Leclerc gets the embrace of his team as well. Magnificent firework display at the end of this race. I can tell you our commentary box is shaking with these fireworks.
What form Ferrari are on, eh?
Well, if we'd have had this at the start of the season, how close would the Constructors' Championship be? And, you know, Mercedes are clearly in the knowledge now that Ferrari are there to challenge them at every single race. New upgrade here this weekend as well.
Got the qualifying pace, got the race pace, restarts are good, their starts are good away from the line.
I mean, is it too little too late? And what would have happened had they have made the most of their early season opportunities in Bahrain, for instance? They could have taken that win. And what will be, I think, very special for Sebastian Vettel, and I mentioned it as he crossed the line, unlike Canada, this win will count. Yeah. He still thinks he won Canada. Sadly, the record books will say that the 5-second penalty denied him that victory, but this one will count, and it will mean a lot for him. But what's the body language between the two Ferrari drivers? Not exactly embracing, are they? are not embracing each other at all.
Sebastian Vettel, welcome back. 53rd victory. It's been over a year. That must feel sweet.
Yeah, it does. Obviously, I'm a bit sweaty, but no, very happy. Great race. I think, first of all, big congratulations to the team. Obviously, yeah, the start of the season has been difficult for us, but the recent weeks, I think we started to come alive. So, yeah, really proud of everyone's work back home. And secondly, I really want to thank the fans. And obviously, the last couple of weeks for me have been not the best, but it's been incredible, to be honest, to get so much support, so many letters, so many nice messages, and yeah, people telling their own stories when things might not go well and so on. So it gave me a lot of strength, belief, and I tried to put it all into the track today, into the car, and yeah, it's nice when it pays off.
Well, look, you know the game. You know that there's been criticism of late. This is the perfect way to answer it. Talk us through that strategy call. Now, my understanding is lead car gets the call on the pit stop. So when you saw Charles go past the pits, did you drive that strategy call to come in and go for the undercut, or was that...
It was a very late call. Obviously, I thought it was a bit early because I wasn't sure whether we can make the tires last in the second stint. But yeah, obviously, then I just gave it everything in the outlap because I saw the two cars in front of me not pitting, especially Lewis. So yeah, I was then very surprised, obviously, the lap later to come out ahead. Then it's been quite busy managing the tires, going through traffic. I was trying to go through and slide through as quick as I can, maybe then to get a cushion and then control it at the end. Didn't work when the safety car came out, but yeah, obviously, yeah, we controlled it to the end. The car was getting better and better. It was tricky at the restarts with cold tires, but as first car, I think you always have a bit of an advantage.
I just want to push on that there. Did you make the call to come in, or was your engineer?
No, I was, I think, just the corner before, like turn 21. So the last turn before the pit entry, I received the call. So I don't know if somebody pitted or all of a sudden the gap was big enough. But yeah, for me, obviously, it worked today, so happy.
Congratulations, Sebastian. That was fantastic. Just coming over to our second place man, Charles. Astonishing performance yesterday. All looking great out front. And then, of course, just what I was asking there to Seb about strategy, that's what undid this opportunity for winning this Grand Prix. How are you feeling?
Oh, obviously, it's always difficult to lose a win like that, but at the end, it's 1-2 for the team. So I'm very happy for that. It's the first 1-2 for the season. So yeah, all the guys deserve it. We arrived here hoping for maybe a podium, and we come back home with a 1-2. So for that, extremely happy. Then of course disappointed on myself, on my side, as anyone will be. But it's like this. Sometimes it goes that way, and I'll come back stronger.
Interesting. You say you came here maybe hoping for a podium. This track sometimes does throw an unusual result, but do you have confidence that the issues that you had with the car prior to the summer are now resolved with the update?
Let's wait for a few Grand Prix, but it looks positive here. A lot more positive than we expected. Quali pace, race pace was strong too. So yeah, they've done an amazing job.
Can you just one more on the strategy? You were controlling the pace very early on, backing everyone up. There was no clear gap for anyone to drop into. How aware were you that the undercut was always going to be there as a risk, and how much did that come as a surprise?
Yeah, I mean, this was the strategy. The strategy was fixed at the beginning of the race, so I stick to the plan. Obviously, then at the end, the most important is that we finished 1-2.
Okay, congratulations on that, Max. Well, more than maybe you expected coming into the race. Qualifying close, but not quite as strong as we've seen from Red Bull in previous years. Third place, so in front of the Mercedes, you've got to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole race went well. Of course, in the beginning, it was all going really slow, so everybody was very close together. Then I started to struggle a bit with the tires, so we boxed, and actually that was quite a good call because we undercut Lewis at the end. And yeah, from there onwards, it was all about just managing the tires home. Of course, it was a bit tricky with the safety cars to restart because tires, they got quite cold. But in general, yeah, happy to be on the podium. It's always difficult to overtake here. So yeah, to do it by strategy is of course very positive. And again, yeah, a good amount of points and a lot of things to analyze and to work on. But still, yeah, happy to be in the top three.
3 safety cars. Did that take the pressure off physically? But it was almost a 2-hour race. How was it?
Well, not really, because you have to warm up your tires, so you're actually working harder than when you are going flat out. So yeah, it's always going to be a tough race, and especially at the end with Lewis, you know, pushing on. It was good. You know, it keeps you going flat out until the end, and it's a good workout.
Okay. Congratulations.
It certainly is. Drivers losing 3 to 4 kilos during the course of this race. There's Mattia Binotto, who's kind of got to play the diplomatic role at Ferrari a bit, and I thought Charles Leclerc in the interviews there with David Coulthard being very diplomatic.
Yeah, he's smart, isn't he, like that? He knows he doesn't need to inflame anything outwardly, I'm sure, when the doors are closed. He'll be somewhat firmer than that.
So Leclerc and Vettel, as they head into the cool-down room. I'm not sure what the Italian for multi-21 is, or whether we'll get a repeat of that, but let's have a listen.
You lost a lot, or what? Wait.
More like a library.
Strange question to ask. You lost a lot. I mean, you wait. I'm glad he clarified that.
Yeah, he was pushing on. So he stayed in like the restaurant after the last restart.
Well, I lucked into 10 podiums in Formula 1, and I was a lot happier than that.
Either a pin drop in there, to be honest. It's quite clear that Charles Leclerc is not going to start making enemies and causing a scene, but he doesn't really want to engage his teammate there in any sort of conversation, does he?
He knows it'll just be picked up on, particularly in the Italian press. Yeah. So he's just a very wise head on young shoulders, isn't he? But you know, we've got to come back to the point where it as a team play, it worked brilliantly for Ferrari over Mercedes.
So the first time this decade, Red Bull stand on a podium, but not with a first or second. Here in Singapore, Charles Leclerc adds another trophy to his collection. That's 8 podiums now in Formula 1, but he misses out on those 3 wins in a row. And it's Sebastian Vettel who skips lightly into the spotlight as a race winner once again for Ferrari.
Fratelli d'Italia, l'Italia celesta, del municipio si ginta la testa, dov'era? a win for Sebastian
And for the first time then since 2008 in Malaysia, Bahrain and Spain, Ferrari have won 3 races in a row. They went on to win the Turkish Grand Prix that year as well, to make it 4 out of 4. Sebastian Vettel holds aloft the winner's trophy. Ferrari have decided to send Inaki Rueda up to the podium to collect the Constructors' Trophy. Their head of strategy. I'm not sure Charles Leclerc really wants to see him up there at the moment, but, you know, he's smiling enough.
Well, he's managed to strategize Charles into winning Spa at Monza. So, yeah, it's a great day for Ferrari. And what's significant here, Crofty, is they've just won 3 straight races on 3 completely different types of racetrack.
Exactly.
They're really back in business.
Yep, they trail by 133 points to Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship. And Ferrari are coming on strong in the second part of this season. Charles Leclerc had led the challenge. Tonight, though, in Singapore, the winning smile is on the face of Sebastian Vettel, back on top of the podium for the first time since Belgium last year. It's good to see him back.
Yeah, less spraying, more drinking, that was, by the looks of things, for Charles Leclerc. If Monza was a sprint, that was a marathon where a strategy call allowed Sebastian Vettel to pick up the first victory for 392 days. That is a long wait between victories for the 4-time world champion. But he'll be relieved, mighty relieved to have picked it up. Charles Leclerc, well, I'd be, pay quite a lot of money to be a fly on the wall of that debrief. And certainly, I think he's going to have a few questions to ask. Nevertheless, as we were saying, it could have been a 1-3. It made it a 1-2. If you're in Mattia Binotto's shoes, they'll be happy with that. Because right now, Ferrari are showing that they can dominate too. And everything since that summer break has played into their hands. Imagine if we'd had this from the start of the season, which certainly would have a real battle on our hands for the title. Nevertheless, it's going to make things intriguing, isn't it, from here on in for the run-in. The Russian Grand Prix is next up. Quick turnaround for us, and we'll be out in Sochi next weekend. Right now, Super Sunday is West Ham against Manchester United, and a little bit later from 4 o'clock, Chelsea against the leaders, Liverpool. Also available on Sky Cinema and in cinemas from Friday, Hotel Mumbai. One for you to watch, and what we've been watching went on for the full 2 hours, as it so often does, and with the safety cars, it went to the 2-hour time limit, but in the end it was Sebastian Vettel that picked up that victory, and he'll be very happy because it's the first circuit that he's done that 5 times.